What is going on, everybody? It is episode 843 of Pop Culture Crisis. My name is Brett. We are back, and I am here with my co-host. Introduce yourself, please.
Hello, Crisis Actors. It's Mary. We are back from the long weekend. I hope all of you enjoyed your Memorial Day and hopefully spent it being patriotic. I know I did. I went to the Lincoln Memorial.
Oh,
Made me feel really connected to this country and our roots.
I literally can't tell
kidding.
if you're being sarcastic.
People showed up with JBL speakers. It wasn't a vibe. But I tried to be patriotic.
Do you think it's like that JBL knew that they would one day spark a movement of just public annoyance? Because it's always a JBL
They
speaker.
should know. And it should be illegal to play music on your phone, on a speaker, whatever, in public. You actually should be arrested for that. Anyway, we have Tate joining us.
It's true. Hello, everyone. I had a great Memorial Day. I was super patriotic. I went to the steps of the Japanese embassy and peed on them. That's how I honor the troops. And I saluted while I was doing it.
Well, that's the third nuke right there.
But it's that's the third nuke. But it's cool to see that the Japanese have turned around.
Yeah.
They're really effeminate now. You really feel like if we got in a war, it'd be pretty easy.
I mean, I don't know, man. They're trying to lull you into a false sense of security.
Yeah, they're drawing Hello Kitty, but they're really arming themselves.
They're introducing these new rules in Japan for tourists where you're going to have to pay a premium on literally all goods and services. So if you go to a restaurant in Japan as a tourist and you ask for a menu in English, that version of the menu just has all the higher prices.
Me and my dad were there in last November. And we got turned away from 2 restaurants.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because they're just openly xenophobic, which I respect. I would just like it to be an even playing field where we can do the same.
Right.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that's not the case.
We walked in and it was clearly open and they're just like, no. And then we were like, okay. And then 2 people walked behind us and got a seat and we're like, hey.
This does happen in America just by virtue of being sent to tourist traps.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which are, I understand it's not the same thing, but there's a fetishization of you got to go where the locals go.
Yeah.
This
Maybe
new
you're in a
rule-
small town that's thinking Red Robin. It's a nice dive.
I literally ate at Red Robin for the
the
first time 2 months ago.
If I were Japanese and visiting the U.S., hell yeah, I would go to Red Robin.
Yeah,
What do you mean?
Of course.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is a new thing. I think their government actually implemented the policy. So you're going to have to pay more for hotels, for restaurants, for theme parks, any attractions, everything.
We need state-enforced xenophobia.
Because I guess that they just felt like the place was getting overrun.
Well, this is all Logan Paul's fault.
But don't
Yeah.
you want to incentivize as much tourism as possible for revenue?
But you also get this flip side, places like Barcelona, and their entire economy is built on tourism, and then they see tourists and "Grr,"
It's
or
lit-
Hawaii.
That didn't
Yeah.
happen to me anywhere in Spain except for maybe people being wow, you're at the time, you're not fat as an American.
Yeah.
They're shocked
To
by
your
that.
face. I mean, I would actually just get in a fight with someone for saying that.
I mean that's yeah.
They were talking shit about our country.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't care if we're fat.
But the thing
Yeah.
is
It's awesome, actually.
what I thought was interesting about it is because that was when I first came into an understanding of how self-hating so many Americans are, which is when other Americans would hear stuff like that, they're yeah.
They'd be like, yeah, we're so fat and stupid,
we're so-
right?
And I'm bro,
I
have
hate
some,
us.
even if it's true, lie.
Yeah.
Have some self-respect.
It's look, I may
Save
not be
face.
familiar with Italy, but I'm very familiar with the moon. Yeah, have you been there? Oh, I don't think so. Yeah, your country? Yeah, no.
I don't think so.
Oh, you have 30% unemployment? Oh, okay. Yeah, we're fat, but it's because we work so much. Sorry.
We need to cope at the end of the day with a Big Mac.
Yeah.
Please excuse our work ethic.
Sorry that we're stress testing our bodies. Oh yeah, you're weak. You're gonna get clobbered in a war.
Sorry that we're loud and powerful.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Sorry that we have aura.
With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, not to go off on too much of a tangent as we start the show, hit the like button on this video, especially if you're a fat American and you want to
Yes.
show your support for this country, or even if you're a
Get
skinny,
your big chubby hands and smash that like button.
sausage fingers on the like button, please.
Immediately.
Even if you're a skinny American, you should hit the like button as well. Because why
Slide
would
aside
you...
the McChicken wrapper and like the video.
and then don't let all the grease destroy your computer. That's a
Right.
bad thing. So hit the like
But you're
button.
rich. You're American. You can just buy a new one. That's what makes us great.
They do believe that we are all rich too.
Really?
Fact check. True. It's true.
Well, because the meme is always, maybe not in Spain, but the meme is always kind of Americans think their lives are miserable, and then you show somebody in a third world country what life is like for even the poorest American, and they're like, how can you even complain?
Oh, well, I just remember when Red Note was popping, a lot of Chinese users were saying, like, I can't believe you don't have these basic comforts, you know, provided for you by the government. Like, you live in shit.
And then
Americans
Americans are like, I don't want the government to provide me with luxuries.
No, the Americans were like, the CCP is actually correct. Like, we should,
Meanwhile, you go to the UK and it gets like 80 degrees and they just drop dead because they don't have ACs.
Sorry, I kind of stepped on your...
That is one of my favorite online beefs is American and British people who argue about housing. And the way homes are built in America. They're like, oh, your homes aren't made of stone from like the 1700s. Skills issue.
Yeah, they're like, oh yeah, we have pubs, you don't. I'm like, yeah, because we hang out at our houses because they're big. We don't need pubs.
Well, at least we pass fire code. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's
we have windows.
I mean, fire code is just senseless bureaucracy here in America.
One thing you do notice is we like kill it with the ADA. Like, this is a very handicap-friendly country. Like, it looks like Tony Hawk designed everything. There's ramps everywhere.
That is really true. When I was going up to the Lincoln Memorial, actually, there's such a long ramp that I was almost like, this is an eyesore.
This is a sledder's paradise.
I just read like this long X post from a guy who was pushing back on somebody who had like, they were just making a snarky tweet. It was like, every time you see something from Switzerland, it's like, we're giving everyone free ice cream. Every time you see America, we can no longer have handicap ramps because the Bible said so. And which is a cope, because as we know that America, because of bureaucracy in the ADA and all that stuff, there are handicap ramps everywhere. And there's a whole cottage industry of people who go and file nuisance lawsuits because of buildings that aren't up to code.
Yeah.
But the point is don't let the truth get in the way of your hit tweet. Right? Yeah. So anyways, as an aside, hit the like button on the video, subscribe to the channel if you are new here and you have not subscribed here already, please and thank you. And you should share the video with your friends and your family and your loved ones, everybody that you know on both YouTube and on Rumble. You should share the content because the fastest way to help this channel grow is to subscribe, to like the videos, and to share it out with everybody. So what are we getting into today? Well, HBO has found their victims. They have found the 3 children who are going to be hounded on the internet for the next 2 decades because they are going to be playing Harry, Ron, and Hermione in the upcoming Harry Potter television series, I guess streaming series on HBO Max. So we are going to talk about that casting and a couple of reported things in this Daily Mail article related to the supposed budget of this series, or at least the episode budget. So we're going to talk about it. We're also going to talk about the plummeting ratings of The Last of Us and the fact that there is an AstroTurf campaign that is calling Bella Ramsey the most hated actor in Hollywood. Do you believe that to be true? I think Pedro Pascal is the most hated actor in Hollywood, at least on our side of the internet.
I mean, I wouldn't say it's totally AstroTurf. There is a genuine groundswell of hate for Bella Ramsey, which is mostly deserved.
And it's mostly making fun of her appearance.
Yeah, it's really not even anything to do with the show. I don't
hear anybody being like, oh, she sucks at acting. It's mostly like she looks like a wart.
It started with like reasonable criticisms, like she's not good at playing this character. Yeah. She seems to be an annoying person in real life, going by neo-pronouns and constantly talking about like climate change and Trump and stuff. But then I think people just admitted to themselves in their toxic side, they just don't like how she looks. And I think that's valid to criticize someone for their looks if their job is one like hers, where it
happens to us here. Like right now, I'm sure somebody's saying something extremely clever about my appearance.
Yeah, someone said I look like Mark Zuckerberg. That's uncalled for. Wait, pre-Riz Mark or post-Riz Mark?
The real question
I feel like it's the haircut, like the
lack of a haircut. Have you seen how expensive barbershops are recently?
No.
Oh, it's ridiculous. It's like $60. And they come out with all these like bells and whistles. They put a hot towel on your face. I'm like, can you just cut it and get me out of here? Like, this is ridiculous.
I have to just like ask people in the chat if they've heard about this, because this is like a new thing. I told you this last week. So there are like Zoomer girls who are making barber accounts on Instagram where they pose as a barber, like a male barber, with a bunch of videos of haircuts and stuff, just so they can follow their like crush or boyfriend's Instagram and anonymously, and then like see who he follows and stuff.
And they're using barbershops as the medium?
Because it's like such an unambiguously male account. Oh. It's an easy way to hide their,
I would have never suspected that.
That's the point.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Haircuts are expensive, but what you're describing there with like the hot towel, are you getting a shave too?
They're doing it because it's like this new faux masculinity, like with the dude wipes and stuff. Is they're like, "Hey, welcome to Crazy Dave's barbershop. Here's a glass of scotch. Here's a hot towel,"
Whoa.
and it's like
That sounds nice.
what
do you
happens?
mean?
That's like an old.
That's not new. That's existed for a long time.
I just want an old Armenian guy with like scissors. His hands are shaking. I might lose an ear. That's what I want.
little
And you go in
danger.
here and they're like, "Yeah, we got these hot women and whiskey, and we're men." It's like, okay.
When I was getting the lady that cuts my hair, when I actually asked her the last time, I was like, "Have you ever been like halfway through a haircut and just been like, fuck?" like, did you just know you fucked up and like just have to like put on a brave face and go forward? She's like, yes, that has happened. Where she's like, actually, I tell them and then I just do whatever I can to like clean it up, and then usually they're okay with it. I'm like, no, they're okay with it until they get to the car, then they cry.
Right.
Yeah.
But she's done really good work on my hair pretty much the whole time. But in general, I imagine that's actually like a big responsibility. Like how you look is important, and every day, like 8 to 10 people, I don't know how many people a person who cuts hair takes in a day.
Their futures are in your hands.
Yeah, like imagine somebody comes in, they're like, been unemployed for 6 months. I got a job interview later today and I just needed a fresh haircut. And you're like, fuck. Like, I don't want to give this guy some like awful ass haircut before he goes and tries to turn around his financial future.
And you could get the most confrontational of people in a barber's chair, and after they cut their hair, they could destroy your hair. They could like cut your scalp, like, you know, Native American style, and you would get out and they'd show you the mirror and you'd be like, yeah, it looks great. Yeah. Like this could be the gruffest guy and you'd be like, oh yeah, it looks great, man. Thanks.
The meme is always like, that's what you tell them, then you go to your car and you just silently cry.
Yeah, exactly. Like I remember being a kid, and no matter what, when you ask for the haircut, they just buzz your hair basically.
Well, we're gonna talk about this later because it's gonna come up in one of our main topics. So other than Harry Potter, guys, again, we are getting distracted. That is the third topic besides Harry Potter and The Last of Us. We're gonna talk about this thesis that somebody has put forward, that fashion and hairstyles and culture has essentially stagnated since the early 2000s, and that nothing changes. And a lot of us here are members of Nothing Changes gang. So I don't know
Nothing
if
ever happens. I got called out on Club Random for this.
Okay.
Really?
Not by name. Tim didn't name me, but he called me out for saying nothing ever happens, and he just said that's because Zoomers they were born in it.
He did that to us like pre-show one time, and I was like, "You're a nothing ever happens. I'm a nothing ever happens, bro."
Are
And
you
he's like, "It's
also?
because you guys are nihilists." And I'm like,
I
"So
am not a nihilist.
I'm not a strictly nihilist."
Here's the thing: when something happens, nothing results from it.
Nothing
Exactly.
changes.
So
Like
things
India and
happen.
Pakistan were going at it 3 days later. They're like, chill. I'm like,
Yeah.
nothing ever happens.
Yeah. We saw a sign. We were in downtown Frederick the other day, and it was some local business, and it said, no tariff prices, ... yet. And I'm like, this was like 2 months old already now. Like you're like, this is 19 world catastrophes ago.
We have
that
a
this was relevant.
20 from St. Miles. The hot moist towel is the real barbershop treatment. Quick cuts is sheep shearing.
Okay, I want the sheep shearing. That's what I want. If it's cheap, it's fast. Give me it.
All right,
Okay.
go off.
Yeah.
All right. Let's just go ahead. Let's get started then.
Yeah, I think we have a mutual understanding on this show between the hosts and you guys who tune in back at home that the interest we have in celebrity award shows and galas and parties starts and ends at mockery. And I'm fine with that. But it seems like, at least from what I gather, celebrities are starting to feel the same way, and they're losing interest in these parties that they throw for themselves. There were a lot of big names absent from the 2025 AMAs. They said the AMAs decided not to televise 90% of the major categories because none of the nominees bothered to show up. And that includes no Taylor Swift, no Sabrina Carpenter, no Olivia Rodrigo, no Gracie Abrams, no Chappell Roan. Taylor Swift was a huge absence from the event because at the last AMAs, she, I believe, announced one of her own re-recorded albums, which was a big deal. A lot of people were expecting her to do the same thing this year. And then someone posted a photo from a past AMAs. In the front row, you see Lorde, Selena Gomez, and Taylor Swift sitting front row. We used to have real celebrities in the front row. And this reminded me of the Met Gala this year, which was also scant in A-listers. I believe they were invited, but they just didn't show up. And there's this tradition every year at the Met Gala where they take a selfie in the bathroom together, which is super obnoxious. And they did it again in 2025, but as you can see in this photo, who are these people? These are all nobodies.
I recognize
like one of them, but I don't know her name.
Andrew Scott. From Sherlock.
But the rest of these people, I have no idea. And you'd think if anyone were able to recognize them, it'd be people who talk about pop culture for a living. I have no idea who these people are. And they're just kind of resorting to a lot of cheap tricks for attention.
I hear the name Lisa all the time.
There's a lot of K-pop stars.
Lisa, all caps.
I don't really differentiate them. J-Lo did a performance at the AMAs where she tried to get some attention by making out with a couple of her background dancers, which was lame. Like, I guess Ben Affleck is punching the air right now.
Can I share my own frustrations with this?
Yeah.
So first I'm going to...
Share your frustration.
My frustrations on this come from the fact that normally when we would cover something like this, Mary would want to talk about, you know, the degenerate nature of all of these things, and it's a valid criticism. Mine is just that it's so boring. Like, can you imagine trying to be like the edgelord in Hollywood now when everything's been done before?
I've
like,
always said if it's
Madonna
gonna be...
and Britney, we just literally talked about Tucker Carlson and Britney Spears having an iconic interview from 20 years ago talking about this exact thing. And it's like, imagine you have to be that poor person who has to come up with this show, and he's like, ugh, nobody cares about the gay stuff, nobody cares about the sexual stuff, nobody cares about the devil worship. Like, they can't find any way to... The only way to actually be edgy would be to show like a Christian family on stage. Like, they would have to reenact Little House on the Prairie for it to be subversive
Like
in
Duck
any way.
They have to invite Ballerina Farm.
Duck Dynasty sweeps
get anyone
the awards.
talking.
I just imagine, like, look, we've done 843 episodes of the show, and there are days, like, I was just reading this thing about Melanie Linsky talking about how female villains, she was talking about Yellow Jackets, how female villains get a worse rap than male villains, and I just sighed really deeply, and it was just like, I can't.
Yeah.
And I imagine that that whoever the degenerate in chief is at this award show, whoever's in charge of the degeneracy, as somebody who doesn't care about degeneracy, like, he's got to be bored.
Yeah.
He's like, they're like, so what if she like kisses a bunch of people on stage, and they're like, whoa, and he's like,
right.
We need new degeneracy.
Like,
it's getting old. We need some degeneracy
I think
DLC.
it's gotten to the point where even the celebrities are bored of themselves, and they don't even care about all of this pomp and circumstance around these award ceremonies.
I think that the actors do. I still think that the actors love this stuff.
Well,
because there's more social messaging in the movies than there is in the music.
I don't know. I think we would disagree about this, but my hunch is that for the celebrities, these award shows are kind of like the Office Christmas party, where like you go because you have to go and make an appearance and network and, you know, do the interviews, and you have to do it. It's part of the job, but you kind of eye roll after a while. And I think it's gotten to the point where they're just like tired of it. They're even tired of themselves. And I'm not so sure J-Lo even performed in person for these people at the award show. Because as you can see, Gwen Stefani's live performance was just played on a screen in front of people. She wasn't even there.
It's probably AI.
Yeah. Like, I don't even know what this.
She was busy doing stuff for the Hallow app.
They recorded her performance in like an empty room and then played it later on.
That's what they did. That's what they did during COVID.
Fake.
Yeah.
That's what they did during COVID. One of my favorite things was when back in the day, WWE, they did an empty arena match with The Rock and Mankind. It was one of those brutal things you've ever witnessed in your entire life. And the whole point is just they're in an empty arena hitting each other in the head with chairs. And that's kind of where we're at now, where they did that during COVID, where they had to wrestle in front of like an empty an empty arena. And it was really unnerving because they'd have to put fake crowd noise in.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's just dead silence and people grunting.
Well, I think like Tim Dillon's talked about this, how like a big problem is that LA is just on the decline. And it's like the energy you're surrounded, I hate to get all like esoteric, but the energy you're surrounded by really does come out in your work. And it's like when you see what's happening in Austin with all these comics and the Rogan sphere, there's some energy. It feels like something big's gonna happen.
Because they made the move.
Because Austin's on the way up and LA is on the way down, so it's like you're surrounded by decline. So obviously, like the product's gonna decline.
Not to mention it costs a gazillion dollars to do anything in LA. Anymore.
Yeah, how are you supposed to get fired up for a bathroom selfie when you just stepped over a bunch of homeless people?
That's another
they clear them out the week before.
Right, hey, can you stop shooting up for a second? We're trying to get the shot.
No, they said, can you shoot up over there? Like, you have to be at least a mile down the road.
There are like homeless people shooting up in the bathroom at the Met Gala because they can't expel them.
So yesterday we were walking through Frederick and there was definitely like a homeless guy on top of one of like the pillars in front of one of the buildings, and he's just baking in the sunlight. And Olivia's like, she's like, is he dead? And I'm like, no, I saw him breathe, but I'm gonna be real. I didn't see him breathe. I just was making sure that nobody's.
He's probably more alive. Than a lot of people.
She shouldn't ask him a question.
She asked me that. She did not address him.
Gotta make sure she doesn't engage.
I mean, I felt for the like he very clearly had track marks on his arm. And he was shirtless, and it was just beating sundown on him. And that's what it is in LA. They have to walk over that guy to get to the award show.
The biohackers have spoken up, and they've said homeless maxing could actually help with a lot of health problems because they're getting a lot of sun. They walk around a lot. They don't ever have headphones in. They're not on the internet. There's no blue light.
I remember this.
Yeah, homeless
clip
maxing.
from Alex Clark's podcast where she's talking to some, I don't know, health influencer about like, why is it that I have so many friends who are trying to conceive right now and they're having infertility issues, but then the homeless crack addict on the street, she's getting pregnant with no issues. And this expert tells Alex Clark in the clip, oh, it's because the crack addict is in her divine feminine. She's stress-free. She's doing whatever she wants, and that's why she has such an easy time getting pregnant. I'm sorry, we're getting sidetracked again.
We are.
I also wanted to mention that the Swiftie fandom was incredibly disgruntled after the AMAs because Taylor Swift was absent. And also, for the first time in 18 years, Taylor did not win a single AMA she was nominated for.
Patriarchy reasserting itself.
Meanwhile, it just seems kind of rigged because Billie Eilish won all 7 of the AMA categories that she was nominated for: Album of the Year, Song of the Year, Artist of the Year, Favorite Female Artist, Pop Song of the Year, Pop Album of the Year, Favorite Touring Artist. So that seems kind of rigged. I would imagine
Sabrina Carpenter would have won some of these.
She wasn't even there. So I guess if she had any award to accept, they wouldn't have televised it anyway. And people were expecting Taylor Swift to announce the Reputation album, Taylor's version, her re-recorded album. But she's gone through a pause where she released 2 in 2021, another 2 in 2023. People are waiting for another 2 in 2025, and there's nothing being announced from her. And I think that it's because of
Donald Trump.
A rumor.
Yeah, it's because Kanye.
You
She's
sent
scared.
to me last week. Page 6 reported that Taylor Swift's masters for her first 6 albums are back up for sale. And Scooter Braun is reportedly encouraging Shamrock Capital to sell her discography back to her for $600 million to $1 billion. And Shamrock Capital first bought them from Scooter Braun back in 2020. So if she has the opportunity to buy back her old discography, why would she bother continuing to re-record them other than just for publicity's sake?
No, it makes tons of money because buying it back, then what is she? There's no way to re-release that in like the 90 different versions she does with like regular vinyl, crimson vinyl, colored. Like there's no branding ability for
like
her to do that.
32 different Taylor's versions.
Well, it's ostensibly turns it into a brand new album because of it's not a brand new album in the sense that the music is different, but it's a brand new album in the sense that the marketing opportunities that it opens up. Like, what is she going to call it? The reacquired version? Like the legal version?
And they've
Taylor
been
Swift under new
boycotting.
management.
Yeah.
They've been boycotting the original recordings for so long at this point. I don't know if anyone would catch up.
I do love the meme that's just like listening to the original version to cancel out a Swifties.
Yeah.
I do that.
Yeah, me too. The original ones are way better.
I
It's just mixed
defiantly
better.
listen to the Big Machine Records versions.
There you
of
go.
all of it, but
The capitalist version.
Yeah.
yeah, I
Shamrock maxing.
I know we
I
disagree
hope
on
there's
this.
a leprechaun for their logo. I hope Shamrock Capital has like a greedy looking leprechaun with gold coins.
Well, I know that we disagree on this, Brett, but I do think that this is evidence that celebrities are retreating from award show regalia.
I think that the actors the musicians might be away from it, but I think the actors still love it because they do still see their work as so deeply important to society that they miss no the same way we talk about when they hold these women's summits and they're all drinking champagne as they toast to their own greatness. I think they love it. I think I think it does help them because it benefits them to network, but they love to go out and talk about how great they are.
But I do think pomp and circumstance is down across the board. Like the NFL can't get guys to show up to the draft anymore, so they all set up cameras at their houses.
Yeah.
And so it's like I think everyone's just kind of like gotten used to the stay-at-home post-COVID world, and award shows are kind of tacky now, and
especially with the A-listers, I think they think it's not worth it for their careers because they have social media. So anytime they want to promote themselves, they can use their own platform, and then the people who use those award shows for the actual purpose of networking and getting their name out there are people that no one cares about.
I mean, if you're gonna win an award, it still benefits you to be there to accept it in person if you actually win it, so that you can give your speech rather than have your agent do it or whoever.
I mean, not if you're Sabrina Carpenter, because she didn't show up.
I'm speaking more for actors rather than musicians. Like, plus there's like 9,000 award shows anyways. Like, who actually cares?
I think that they're thinking the same thing.
I think the Golden Globes and the Oscars are always going to have rich, vapid celebrities show up. Though they've tried to cut out the politics from it in recent years. That's because ever since Israel-Palestine started, they've kind of sectored off their messaging, and they don't want to have people going in opposite directions. I saw they mentioned Kalani was like talking about Palestine on the red carpet of the AMAs because she had some performance banned in like Central Park because of her messaging recently.
Okay.
Something like that.
I didn't see that.
In the headlines on that were very leading, and the media didn't do its job to be unbiased in that. But the point is like, you can't, know for sure that they're not going to say something stupid. Also, I feel like it would actually be harder to get musicians than actors because musicians are on tour a lot.
But I also don't have any specific example in mind, but I've heard small-time celebrities complain about award shows because they have to fund it all themselves.
Yeah.
You have to make sure that you have, your own lodging, your own transportation. You have to pay for the designer gown and all the jewelry and the makeup and the hair, the whole team, and the social media promotion. Like, that in and of itself is like a side hustle.
I mean, that's
that
why
they don't want to deal with.
It's why when they talk about actors, like it seems like they have a lot of money, they don't, because the job that they have actually requires them to spend a crap ton to stay relevant, like those award shows.
Oh, I spent all my money at the Glorp Award.
We have a conversation about money actually coming up next.
Yes, let's do that. Speaking of which.
Sofia Vergara recently did an interview as a newly single divorcee. She's been single for about 1.5 years since her divorce from Joe Manganiello in 2023. And they asked her what she's looking for in the dating pool as a 52-year-old woman with a net worth of 180 million. And she said several normal standards. She wants someone who's in good health.
Let me guess, he needs to be
someone
funny.
Who loves her.
He has to be funny.
He has to be fun. That was another one. She would prefer someone handsome, someone taller than her. But this was really important to her. She said, I want somebody that has as much money as me or more, because if not, it's a nightmare and they end up resenting you. So I'm guessing she's saying that because she has experience dating men who don't have as much money as her and it didn't go well.
I mean, there is an argument to be made that, are we talking about like he works 9 to 5 at McDonald's, or are we talking guy like, because she's worth how much? She was worth like several $100 million.
180 is like
a paltry $180 million.
I don't know how she's
like
making rent.
Joe Manganiello is a successful actor. He's not hurting for money, but is the idea here supposed to be that like at a certain tax bracket it gets the cutoff, where it's like he's only got 60 million and he's like, oh, I feel like such a layabout. Like,
well, this got picked up and tweeted out for engagement. And a lot of people were falling for the rage bait, saying like, here's one comment, 52 years old, ran through like a laundromat, but because she's rich, she thinks that men still value her. Meanwhile, she is gorgeous and looks half her age.
It's a cope.
And has access to a pool of men that most
cope.
women could never access.
It's a huge cope.
I don't think she would have trouble dating someone who has just as much, if not more, money than her, based on her social status.
I do, however, believe that at 52 with her net worth, that the chances of like the fairy tale everlasting love happening gets kind of shorter by the year.
Well, she's twice divorced now, so I don't know if she has much faith.
The track record
love.
isn't there.
But she also said that when she first got divorced in 2023, she was anxious because she's like, I'm 52, I'm getting up there. Should I panic? And now she says she feels no pressure whatsoever to find someone and settle down. And she's just focused on having fun. And this was interesting. Her divorce had nothing to do with money. She said the reason behind her divorce in 2023 was because they disagreed about having kids. She says, Joe wanted to have kids and I didn't want to be an old mom. I feel like it's not fair to the baby. I'm almost in menopause. It's the natural way of things. So that was just something they didn't discuss before getting married.
Okay, so there's a lack of understanding of like time frames here. Like she got to 52 and he's like, like,
I think it's time.
Are we gonna do this? Or
well, they were. I guess like she was already in their late. No. So if she were 50 when they got divorced, they were together for 7 years. She was 43 when they got married, I guess. Okay. That's okay. So you're not having kids.
Yes.
You could maybe
no,
like
they all
one.
freeze their eggs though.
And you can have a kid at that age, but it's going to be a high risk pregnancy, and the chances of success go down by the day.
But how is that not something you discuss prior to deciding that you're going to spend your life with this person? I don't understand.
She's worth $180 million.
They were too busy riding jet skis or something.
Yeah, you say yes to anything. I think she should, the femcel wave is on the rise. I think she should just kind of tap into that.
Are the femcels enjoying their lives?
Well, they talk about it a lot, so.
So they must.
Yeah, she should ride that wave. Be a smart play.
I'm just curious. Everybody knows that the net worth calculators are always unbelievably wrong.
Yeah.
But he's worth a mere $40 million.
Oh, he's a bum.
He's a freaking
He might have
bum.
been the homeless guy in Frederick you're talking about.
That guy is like, he's down and out.
Yeah.
Right?
I don't know how he's making rent.
Maybe she was implying that she was seen as the breadwinner in their relationship and it caused issues.
Like, yeah, but did you star in True Blood? No, you didn't.
She had a very long career before she was discovered by English-speaking media, before she was a celebrity in the U.S. She was also a news anchor, I believe.
I just love that she's like she's just like dunking on him for only being worth. She's like, oh, double-digit millionaire, huh?
Yeah. What do you want, welfare?
It's just crazy because you'd think after a certain level of wealth, it's kind of all the same.
Well, it
like once you're in the tens or hundreds of millions net worth, does it really make a difference between the two of you?
I mean, here's the thing. To a guy, this is gonna sound really sexist. To a guy, probably not. To a girl, probably.
Yeah.
Really?
So true.
In the sense that that a woman is going to care more about a man's net worth than a guy is going to care about her net worth.
Okay,
both
in that level of wealth, though, it's wild to think about having a net worth in the hundreds of millions and still thinking like, oh, I need to make sure I find a billionaire so we don't have relationship issues over money. Like, you're never going to think about money for the rest of your life.
No, they are, because what's going to happen, she's like, oh, you're thinking about opening a restaurant. I was thinking about, like, maybe going half on a baseball team, like not at $100 million, but you get what I'm saying, right? Like the implications are very different for a $40 million person, for somebody worth $40 million. And the concerns that people in that tax bracket have are just very different than the ones that you or I are ever going to have. But it doesn't mean it's not going to cause fights.
Right.
Right. Like,
I also like that the Business Insider was reporting this story. Yeah. Like, this is hitting the shelves and on Wall Street.
Well, they have so-called wealth psychologists weighing in, and one of them said many wealthy partners perceive that they're entitled to exert more control and say in the relationship about how money is spent. Is that unfair.
It's just the title's a non-starter. We asked 3 therapists what they think. Oh, so you asked 3 poor people what they think. Of course they're gonna have hot takes on this.
Yeah, and I imagine that it caused some arguments in the relationship, but probably not for the reasons that you or I would argue about money. It's not about whether you can afford the bills.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like, oh, you scratched up the Aston Martin.
Yeah.
We can only dream to have such petty
index
problems.
fund goes down 3% and they're on the rocks.
I point that all the time. It's like, just because it's like when people talk about celebrities who die young and they're like, why would they be miserable? They have money. It's like human suffering and struggle can be relative in a lot of ways, at least mentally, which is like to you or I who want to know, it's like, how am I going to pay my bills? I want to start a family, all these things where you have to worry about money. That's your own psychological cross to bear. But for a rich person, they have their own that are just unique to them in their own tax bracket. That doesn't make any sense to us, but it doesn't mean it doesn't make sense to them.
Yeah.
So it requires a certain amount of like empathy.
Well,
to understand that their struggles may be different than ours.
Your
but it doesn't
basement
mean-
rises like as you ascend the ladder.
Yeah. That doesn't make them not annoying, and it does not make them, good people. But it's just to say that if it wasn't true, then a lot of actors wouldn't die young of drug overdoses. Okay,
so we know that a wealth gap can cause relationship issues, but what about a fame gap? What if, wealth aside, let's say that these 2 partners are equal, but one of them is famous and one of them isn't?
Depends on if fame is the goal for that person. So Dolly Parton was married to a contract, like a contractor. He was like a construction foreman, basically, and he had no desire to be famous whatsoever, and she respected that. I believe he was also very successful. He wasn't Dolly Parton successful, but he ran a successful business, but wasn't a public figure. Now, if it's 2 people that are both in the spotlight and want to be in the spotlight, I guess that could affect it. But I don't know. Like Ryan Gosling's been married to, what's her name? Eva Mendes for a decade now or something like that. And she took a step back to take care of the family while he continued to work. And that didn't seem to bother her. At least seemingly it didn't seem to bother her.
It bothered everyone else.
Yeah, it bothered everybody else that it didn't bother her.
Yeah.
I guess it really depends.
I think it's cool that they were able to navigate that like as a family without caring about people's stupid opinions about gender roles.
Well, I mean, and also they got married before that conversation became as prevalent as it is on the internet now.
And Ryan Gosling is like, he has a lot of pressure. He has every young man in America is on his back right now.
Yeah.
You need him to perform. So Eva, take a step back. Ryan's got some work to do.
There's stuff to get made.
Yeah.
I think it's more likely for a famous woman to date a non-famous man in the same wealth
Kamala
status.
Harris.
Like, for instance, all of these actresses who end up dating producers or directors.
A lot of actresses date producers and directors.
Wealth, like men who have wealth but not fame.
That's the second marriage, by the way. The third marriage is to the investment banker, and that's when usually when it sticks. At least from my research.
Yeah, we're not talking about their starter marriages.
No, we're not talking about marriage 1 or 2, but usually by marriage 3, they've met some guy who works for Lucky Charms Capital or whatever.
I couldn't tell you the name of Jennifer Lawrence's husband, but he finances films. And that they met through their own industry, and she is the famous of the 2 of them.
Yeah. And that's probably fine to her. Plus, a lot of people would talk about the fact that there's a certain level of power that comes from anonymity and wealth that's actually more attractive to a lot of people.
Yeah.
Like, that's better. So.
Or like Benny Blanco. People got so mad at me for saying
that
Benny Blanco isn't famous. Well, Selena Gomez is more famous than him.
She is more famous, but he is famous, and he's very relevant and influential in his industry.
Sure.
But
and otherwise they wouldn't have met.
Correct. So, yeah, guys, so just check your bank accounts. If you're looking to take Sofia Vergara on a date, maybe you've got Raya. That's the app, right? Raya.
Yeah, it's pretty easy to get on Raya.
If you don't have $140 million in the bank, you might want to just hold off until you can, work on yourself. Lock in.
I've always wondered too, because Raya's famous people, right?
Yes.
Do you guys
But if
think
you're
we
not-
could get on Raya?
Well, this is what I was gonna say. I was like, if you're not in Los Angeles or New York, then it's probably like local celebrities. So you get on Raya around here, it's like a car salesman. You're like, yo, I'm in the ads. I'm Crazy Joe.
I mean,
I'm in the chicken costume.
I'm pretty
And
sure
that's like the hot
we
ticket.
have IMDb pages, so like I could probably try and get on
on
Raya.
Raya?
Like
Yeah.
I could do it.
There's got to be at least some person who's done like some type of investigative reporting on Raya, right?
If not, I will do it.
But like
I will
investigative
take one for
reporting,
the
like,
team.
oh my gosh, Jennifer Lawrence enjoys mimosas. Hot stuff.
It's like she swiped right when I was wearing this outfit, and then I changed my profile.
Yeah.
And I put on a different outfit, and suddenly she swiped.
That would be good. You set up a fake profile, get all the celebrities like you, and then put like MAGA hats on and switch the pictures over, and they're like, oh my gosh.
They're all Nazis. Holy crap. All right, let's move on. What would you guys like to see? Cringe or cute of the day?
Tate, it's up to you.
It's got to be cringe.
Cringe first. All right, here we go. All right.
Nightmare blunt rotation at Disney.
No.
This is a bachelorette party.
Oh, here we go.
Bibbidi bobbidi bride. Too tipsy and beyond. Mike, Tilly, and Biz. Pour the shot, Kronk. Just keep drinking, just keep drinking. Oh, new buzz. Can you feel the buzz tonight? Drink about. Sipping beauty.
Okay,
so-
Drinker Bell was kind of clever.
I
have
was
to admit.
again, like I said, we were in Frederick over the weekend, and we went to this one store, and it had
Stuff like that.
a sticker wall, and this sticker wall perfectly encapsulates why society is so awful right now, and why there's a I'm gonna blame the women. Why there's a male loneliness epidemic.
Okay.
I'm gonna read you some of the stickers that were on this wall for sale. Life is short. Be a hoe.
What?
Oh.
Thanks. It's the trauma.
Oh.
Your worth has nothing to do with your diagnosis.
What?
I don't have enough serotonin for this shit. People need to start appreciating the effort I put into not being a serial killer. This is just one row, by the way.
Oh.
There's like 8 rows.
Give us more.
Ain't no lie, baby. Bye, but bye is B-I.
Oh.
Okay.
Oh,
Got it?
no.
Yeah. Yeah.
Worse is in the club, we are all fam, but it's a sticker, and stickers should not be turned into memes.
Well, memes. You mean memes shouldn't be stickers?
Yes.
Yeah.
Don't do coke in the bathroom.
That's a classic.
Who are
Men
these
of-
people?
Like, yeah.
See, those are cool when you're like a 5-year-old boy because your shirt's like, play video games, eat pizza, kill your sister. And you're like,
This stuff is for like adult women.
yeah, for.
The craziest one is life is short, be a hoe.
Yep.
Wow.
Stay trashy with a raccoon doing like the
peace
Nick
sign.
Gosh.
Yeah. Raised myself club.
Okay.
Somebody's crying.
Oh. See, I know I was like really
Don't
patriotic earlier. This country sucks.
Don't text him back, ho, but it's like 6 times in a row.
It's your like affirmation that you do in
Yes.
the mirror.
If you're-
Don't text him back, ho.
Facebook isn't therapy. That's good advice. Sucks to suck.
Who the fuck still uses Facebook?
In my villain era.
Oh.
It just makes me healthcare hero. Like there was also a support federal workers.
Oh, for like the most annoying nurse
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. Do no harm but take no shit.
Great.
Oh
Yeah.
my
Great.
god.
I am a hoe for Trader Joe's.
All right, that one's pretty cool actually.
Are you a hoe for Trader Joe's?
I am,
Tate?
yeah. I used to walk to mine in New York with a
Mary,
laundry
I
basket.
almost bought you this one, but I didn't
Oh.
want to give this business any money. Slut for Taco Bell.
I wouldn't even wear that.
I know.
So they
Fries before guys.
That's like 15 years old.
Yeah.
And there are other ones too. If you go to a different store, there's one that's all about like hating your kids.
Yes.
Like,
That's kind of.
You buy your baby like a little food bib, and it says like, I'm a bank account draining
Yeah.
little dipshit. Like all of them say stuff like
They're
that.
so mean.
Like mommy's little burden.
They're so like I'm
there
gay and I'm a baby. You're like, what?
This one says, I run on Adderall and Charlie XCX.
I hate it.
I just thought, like, this is what, like, I don't mean to be mean, but nobody likes the person who says this stuff. It's kind of, it's when I talk about how they, like, music for women now is made to be slutty anthems that are sung in your car alone. This is the living capitalist embodiment of that. It's I'm on antidepressants, I'm on stimulants, and I don't want anybody to like me because I'm acting like a jerk.
Well, the companies that make those like T-shirts and stickers, they do these mass advertising campaigns. So they send them to my email all the time, and my last name's Brown. So on the shirts, I have them screenshot. It's so funny because my last name's Brown, so it'll be like, it's a brown thing. You wouldn't get it. And it's like I'm reading like literally the most racist shirts I've ever read.
I just like that. Like
I have a problem. Call it brown.
When I think of Girl Boss, I don't think of movies. I think of stickers
Yeah.
like that. That's
Someone's
what I think of.
entire laptop case is just covered in that shit.
Yes. Poor Olivia had to hear me like just rant about these awful stickers for like, that's why society's falling apart.
Literally.
Well, it is.
Fuck these hoes.
It's either a symptom or a cause. We're not sure.
It's spiraled out of like, you started seeing the wave come in like the mid 2010s. Would be a shirt. It's like, yeah, I need more coffee, or like this could use some bacon, and then it's devolved into like, I'm gay, I'm a whore, and you wear it on a shirt, and you're
in
like,
the chat, Fatty says Brett refuses to put up all sorts of articles and clips that they talk about or read during the show, but keeps that thing up the whole time. Well, now I'm gonna leave it up longer.
yeah, leave it up.
Now I'm gonna leave it up longer.
We're
I
just
bet
gonna
that
look at the
person's
Nightmare
triggered.
Blunt rotation.
They
for the
slowly
rest of the
put like
show.
slowly put a sweatshirt over their like catty SSRI
Cute of the
shirt.
day.
We do have cute of the day.
Cute of
still.
the day. This one's from Veronica. This is my little cat, Aurora, and her lizard. She loves bottle caps, chasing her tail
Aw.
and breaking into my closet, and the laser pointer. Yes, the cats love laser pointers. I adopted her last year from my local humane society.
Wait, is that a real lizard?
I can't tell if it's. I don't think it's a real lizard.
Because if it's a real lizard, it's dead.
Yes.
But love that.
All right. Let's get started.
Yes. After much anticipation and tens of thousands of audition tapes that they went through, Harry Potter cast is finally locked in. The main trio is announced, and these child stars are really in for quite the roller coaster of media training and emotional abuse. And I just really feel bad for them. We need to protect them. And they're buckling up for the next 8 years of their lives. I don't think they understand what they've just signed up for.
The thing is I think that I think that Warner Brothers probably did their best to impress upon them what is going to happen.
Or their parents,
But that
at
does.
least.
I say that because they did the same thing to Ben Affleck when he got cast as Batman. They're like, just don't go on the internet.
So
for
this
2
is the
weeks.
only photo of them that we were even able to find.
Yep. And
It's the three of them posing together.
And
in
by the way,
grass.
Discussing Film did turn the comments off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So the role of Harry Potter went to Dominic McLaughlin or McLaughlin. I'm not
It's
sure.
McLaughlin.
And then Hermione is Arabella Stanton, and Ron Weasley is Alistair Stout.
Which is the most British name that's ever been named before.
Stout.
These are some very British children. This was the statement from showrunner Francesca Gardner and executive producer and director Mark Mylod. After an extraordinary search led by casting directors Lucy Bevan and Emily Brockman, we are delighted to announce we have found our Harry, Hermione, and Ron. The talent of these three unique actors is wonderful to behold, and we cannot wait for the world to witness their magic together on screen. We would like to thank all the tens of thousands of children who auditioned. It's been a real pleasure to discover the plethora of young talent out there. So those other kids are crying themselves to sleep
I
tonight.
mean, actually, it's probably different because it's like with a casting call that big, none of them actually thought.
Well, they're doing a casting call for the next Hunger Games movie right now, and they're like having a sweepstakes where a fan is going to get a background role.
They do that a lot. A lot of movies do that. But I do imagine that whoever came in, because they do the open casting call and then they whittle it down to like 10, 20, 30 people. Whoever was like in the running for the top 5 of each character, all of them are crying themselves to sleep. Right
How do they do casting calls for someone like Brian Baumgartner in The Office? They're like, yeah, we need a fat idiot. Like, that's me.
I mean, that's a thing, right? Like, you got to be overweight. You got to be comical.
We need like a loser.
The Harry Potter roles launched Daniel Radcliffe, Emma Watson, and Rupert Grint to worldwide fame in the early 2000s, and the HBO series could very well do the same for McLaughlin, Stanton, and Stout, who are largely newcomers. They say McLaughlin acted in Grow, an upcoming comedy starring Nick Frost and Golda Rosheuvel.
That one is not out yet.
Yeah, and then Stanton starred as Matilda in a Matilda the Musical on West End from 2023 to 2024. And then they said that this is so stereotypical. The kid playing Ron Weasley was in a potato commercial.
I know. he's literally Ron Weasley.
He's not Irish in the movies, though. He's just redhead.
He's got red hair, so he's spiritually Irish, even if he's not.
It's like, yeah, this great Shamrock recording company found him.
So they're pretty much unknown.
Scooter Braun got him the job.
And it is going to launch their careers, but they're not going to make even a fraction of the money that the original cast made off of the movies, I'm sure.
Well, I guess Sofia Vergara's not interested.
So here's the thing. It's reported in the Daily Mail article. Now, again, this can't be substantiated. There could be a misinterpretation of the info, but supposedly they're going to spend $75 million an episode on this show. So back of the napkin numbers say they do 8 episodes a season and they do 7 seasons, 1 for each book. You're looking at about $600 million a season. That's totaling
insane. About
$4.2 billion total. I think that, first of all, they're going to get massive tax breaks because it's being filmed in the UK. They're going to get a crap ton of money back by filming in the UK. And if you really think about it, Andor spent $600 million on 2 seasons for a show that nobody watched, other than some diehard Star Wars fans who needed something to keep them satiated while they waited for something good to be made for the first time in decades. I don't know if there's much that you can say that would justify this, but if there were 2 franchises in entertainment that can justify heavy price tags, it's Lord of the Rings and it's Harry Potter, and they'll make a lion's share of money off of toys and merchandise and things like that. But the thing is, like you said, the kids aren't going to make back end money because there's no way to monetize that. They're not going to have deals that say if they make this much money on opening weekend, they get this % of the gate or something like that. Mm-hmm. It's going straight to streaming.
In 15 years, we're going to see articles that are like, what happened to Arabella Stanton?
They're going to make money. They're going to make plenty of money, but I think they said that, 86 million pounds, not dollars. British pounds. Like Daniel Radcliffe made like 86 million. Emma Watson made like 60 something million, and poor Ron just got shafted, only made like 37 million. And they got a lot more because the ability to make and monetize when you're releasing in the theaters is far greater than just going straight to streaming. And it's not like people trust these streaming services, to be honest, about what the numbers are. They're just going to push things from one column to the next.
Well, these kids also won't be able to take other jobs because the filming schedule on this is going to be extremely strict so that they don't have the Stranger Things happen. Yeah. They don't want these kids to basically look like adults by the time they're done. So I think they're all look to be around 10 years old, which is accurate to the books. Yeah. $75 million an episode, though, is absolutely outrageous.
I think House of the Dragon cost about $20 million an episode.
That's insane.
That's what Valiant Renegade was saying. And he doesn't think this is true. He thinks, and again, just take this as what we're saying here. We're not claiming this is fact, that this could very easily end up being false. It's also funny because I'm picturing what they're going to do is they're just going to go grab those sets that they used for the original Harry Potter. They're going to put them back together and put them back up.
That would cost less than CGI everything.
Well, they're going to do that. I fully believe that they're going to try to do as much as they can with the old sets as possible because they spent so much money on it. And it's the type of thing that you don't want to make great changes to because it ties directly into the theme parks. And the theme parks make them a lot of money through Universal. So you want the TV show to have as much visual continuity with the movies, which has as much visual continuity with the theme parks and the merchandise so that you can keep people buying stuff.
They're going to spend all this money on a set design and everything just for Kai Cenat's Stream University trailer to blow it out of the water. Like, find those guys.
Yeah.
He just mogged them effortlessly.
I did laugh at this. I did at like how close they got on so many of these casting options, and then you get down to Snape, and it's just one. Because like it was the Quirrell casting that made me laugh because it is actually really accurate. Like he looks a lot like the guy who played him in the original. There is what Mary would call phenotype similarities to a lot of these, which I sent Mary over the weekend because we had 2 thumbnails that looked like they were of the same person and they weren't of the same person. It's going to be very, very interesting. I do want these kids to be left alone. I do hope that the internet is kind to them. I say that knowing that they're not going to be.
The journalists are salivating over this opportunity. Yeah. Like, we're going to ask these 11-year-olds what they think of neo-pronouns and whether they disavow J.K. Rowling.
Well, I mean,
like, that's what they want. You know that.
They do want that, but also the audience, I already see people pointing out that Hermione doesn't look like Hermione in the books, and this is going to come up. And I hope that Warner, like I said earlier, I think Warner Brothers did their best to inform them that the media crap storm is going to be all encompassing, but I don't think that you can actually put it into words for a property of this size.
We don't know hardly anything about these young actors, but it appears that Arabella Stanton playing Hermione is not white. We don't know for sure, but I would guess that on the census she is not a white person, and that is something people were quick to point out.
I think that that will be confined to the internet. I don't think that outside of the internet. The Snape one is more obvious, the casting dissimilarity.
Yes.
But for this, it's like when people bring up Dean Cain as Superman. Dean Cain is part Asian, but he still looks like Superman. He still has the look of Superman, so it's not as big of a deal.
She has like facial similarities to Emma Watson.
She does, especially when she was younger. She absolutely does. So I don't think that's definitely not gonna turn off the normies in any sense.
But if they ginger-sided Ron Weasley, it would be pandemonium.
I'd be furious.
And let's face it, the people who weren't going to watch because of Snape aren't going to watch any less because of the Hermione casting. The people who were already boycotting because of the casting problems prior have already left the train. And barring something really, really obvious, you're not going to turn off more people because turning Snape off was already enough for them.
I don't know if you could tell because the photo is so far away, but does Dominic McLaughlin have green eyes?
I can't. They look blue.
Radcliffe didn't, and he didn't wear the color contacts either.
Oh,
so we can't tell.
I mean, look, they look blue to me. But they're gonna give Ron the Zoomer broccoli cut. I can just tell.
He's already pretty close.
He's got the broccoli cut.
Yeah. So you saw someone guessing that this is going to get canceled after 3 seasons.
That is never going to happen.
Not possible at this point. That's why
possible.
Rings of Power is not going to be canceled, despite the fact that it crashed and burned, because once they were locked into that deal, with the amount of money tied up in it, there is no way they're abandoning it. Even if it ends up that no one's watching it, that everyone hates it, they're going to finish it all the way through for 8 years.
The best way you'll be able to tell the success of this show will not be in the ratings, because what's going to happen is they're going to obfuscate, as they always do. Streaming numbers being what they were, they're not. It's more opaque, right? So that's a problem. The way you'll want to know if it's successful or not is what level of merchandising starts to encroach on the original film. So if you start seeing more merchandising with the new cast members and less with the old cast members, that's how you'll know that it's actually successful. Because say what you want about Star Wars, but you can tell what's successful by what they choose to market. They still felt like when they need to make money, they make merch with the old trilogy.
But I just don't buy that the people who grew up with the original Harry Potter cast are going to feel as attached to the new version. And I don't buy the idea that kids these days who weren't, attached to the original by nostalgia are going to care about this. So I don't really know who this is for.
It's for the parents who grew up with the franchise and hoping to get their kids to watch it.
I suppose
kind of like, but then again, Lilo and Stitch just made like $300 gazillion at the box office because it was parents who grew up with Lilo and Stitch bringing their kids to go see Lilo and Stitch.
I guess
live
it's
action.
not a one-to-one comparison because the Lilo and Stitch movie is a live action adaptation. It wasn't live action to begin with, so you're not actually replacing a cast member.
No, but it's still a different interpretation because there was changes made, and the point being that one was made for the adult or for the young audience at the time, which is like 20 years ago. I didn't watch Lilo and Stitch, but the new one, they get the benefit of bringing in the parents and the kids.
I knew that slop was going to perform well.
Oh yeah. And it ruined Mission Impossible. You should watch my Mission Impossible review, guys. You should. We fixed the thumbnail.
Mission Impossible is gonna get mogged by Lilo and Stitch at the box office.
It did.
Yeah.
This weekend. Yeah. So, do with all of this what you will. They're turning the comments off on discussing film. They do that all the time on these types of things, and we'll keep a close eye on how this is going. But I wish those kids the best, and I hope that they make a lot of money.
Thoughts
and I hope,
prayers.
I hope
Yeah,
they make
literally.
a lot of money, and I hope they do not turn on J.K. Rowling like the original 3 actors did. I hope they in a world of Daniel Radcliffe's, be Draco Malfoy.
Yeah.
In the world of Harry Potter's, be a Draco Malfoy, because Tom Felton was always, even though he disagrees with J.K. Rowling, always gave her flowers, as they say. So, all right, let's move on. Let's do some super chats.
Shane H. Wilder said, "Happy Taco Tuesday, Brett, Mary, and Tate. I dropped an ad compilation yesterday to try and get y'all Starbucks matcha and Arby's sponsorships. Let's go."
I would so go for the Arby's sponsorship just because it would annoy everybody.
I should have specified.
go.
The ads are Mary hawking Starbucks matcha with brown sugar cold foam and Brett hawking Arby's curly fries.
That's fair. I'm not going to do the "we got the meats" commercial.
I just love how you can be in like the middle of Arkansas and get a euro from Arby's.
They have that?
Yeah.
Since when?
It's amazing. Yeah, you're just in the middle of nowhere and you're like, this feels epic.
Andrew Canoy said, "If I'm forced to listen to Taylor Swift when I shop, then I'm going to use my JBL to force Electric Callboy on the world."
Wow.
It's different when a store plays music.
Yeah.
I'm willing to tune it out, but you shouldn't be walking around in public with a roller speaker forcing everyone to listen to your music.
Andrew's going toe to toe with the Dominicans. I respect it.
We can't have nice
so
things.
many, like twice over this last long weekend, I went to different stores that were playing "Big Girls Don't Cry" by Fergie, and I'm like, what decade is this?
Stuck culture.
Stuck culture.
Yeah.
Culture.
Quispy Joe said, "I went to Japan in the late 2000s. I do enjoy the country. The nuisance streamers are ruining it for people who actually enjoy seeing other countries." Maybe that's it. Maybe they implemented all of those tourist regulations so that they can disincentivize the streamers from running amok in the streets.
Well, they were smart. Like when people would go and just jump like Johnny Somali, they just let it happen.
Yeah, because they're so polite.
Yeah.
And he got assaulted by like a South Korean special forces operative who was
government
like, look, he was being mean. I thought I had to protect my country.
Like here, they'd throw that guy in jail. In South Korea, they're like giving him a Medal of Honor.
Like, I know how
Great
the
work,
Western
Patriot.
media reacted to the Logan Paul situation in the Suicide Forest video, but I don't know how the Japanese media reacted to it.
He's like, how can you hate me? I'm wearing a Pikachu hat.
It must have made everyone in the country just hate Americans forever.
They already hated us.
We have a 20
Imagine
from...
after
We didn't even do anything to him.
Everything that American,
Yeah, what did
everything
we
that
do?
America and Japan have been through, and it's Logan Paul that ruins it
Logan
for
Paul that
everyone.
destroys
They're like,
us.
look, the nuke
Yeah.
was bad.
You guys crossed the line.
Logan Paul was the third nuke.
Yes.
We have a 20 from Stone Sting. "You will know that it's failing as soon as the showrunner starts talking about how the fans of the movies are racist for not liking a black Snape."
I mean that, and the fact that Hermione is going to get called a mudblood.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, you know, as soon as there's like
See,
ancestry
they're
DNA
not
results
doing
on
them
Twitter.
favors. If they wanted to do that little girl a favor, yeah, they would have passed over her and picked someone who looks even more like Emma Watson.
Yeah.
That's just the truth. She does. You said she's olive skinned. I don't know what ethnicity she is, but she doesn't appear to be white as snow. So yeah, people are gonna comment on that.
Also, the most unrealistic thing there is like, look, in the books, Hermione's parents are dentists. She would have had braces already.
Yeah.
Let's be real.
Well, it is Britain.
Corey
It's
Anderson.
probably really hard to find.
Corey Anderson said, "Why are women afraid to fart in front of men?" I mean, are men not afraid to fart in front of women?
No, but that's a good fear to have.
I think so too.
Yep, I agree.
Brian Bledsoe said, was in Japan last year and there were signs in Japanese that said, if you can read this, you can enter. Google Lens app revealed a lot of hidden messages.
Yeah, that's a thing.
That is so funny.
That's a thing.
I mean, we're going to need those in America
eventually,
real soon.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
All right, let's move on. Let's talk about The Last of Us. It's all falling apart.
Yeah, there is a headline going around saying that Bella Ramsey, the star of The Last of Us Season 2, is the most hated actor in Hollywood. And I believe there is an organic groundswell of backlash against Bella Ramsey that started out with criticism for the show and quickly snowballed into just hate directed at her appearance. The underperformance of the second season, though, speaks for itself. The season 2 finale of The Last of Us had 3.7 million viewers, which is a 30% drop from the premiere of season 2 and a 55% drop from the finale of season 1 because Pedro Pascal isn't in it anymore. Joel is dead, and she is on the Ellie revenge arc, looking about 12 years old.
The average
not really
viewership
selling
is up.
it to anyone.
The average viewership per episode is up from 32 to 37.
From season 1?
Yes, from 32 to 37.
Okay.
But the like finale to finale, the numbers on those episodes are down.
How much of it do you think is hate watching?
I don't know. I mean, when I think of hate watching, I think of something that has to be like really culturally relevant to make people even think to do it. Right? So like people hate watched Velma season 1 because it was like getting all this news.
Yeah.
Like, oh, look, she's gay and there's no dog. Like that was relevant. We hate watched the first season. I wanted to do bad stuff to myself every single time I watched an episode. It was the worst month of my life. But the point being is like season 2 came around, nobody cared. We reviewed the Rings of Power season 1, season 2 came around, meh.
No one cared.
Like we didn't care. So hate watching can only hold on for so long.
Right.
I don't know how much of that is hate watching now. So if the per episode average is up, that's something to be said for them.
Personally, I checked out after episode 3, but that's just me. And this headline just kind of seemed to pop up out of nowhere and get a lot of traction. Bella Ramsey is now the most hated actor in Hollywood. This now has 77 million views on X, and it got picked up by a bunch of disreputable outlets. Here are some of the theories in the headlines. How Bella Ramsey became the internet's most hated star and what it says about toxic fandom culture today. The young star's online vilification raises questions about fandom toxicity and the treatment of outspoken Gen Z actors. Another one says, why is Bella Ramsey the target of so much hate? The Last of Us star sparks the fury of the manosphere.
Ooh.
Another one says,
Bro,
Bella
you don't
Ramsey.
have to be a man to hate Bella Ramsey. You don't have to be a man to hate
I think
Pedro
just
Pascal.
the sphere hates her.
Just like, the.
Yeah.
Here's another one.
Yeah.
Bella Ramsey becomes the most hated star, all because they acted in a video game adaptation. I think it has more to do with Bella Ramsey as a person than it does the show that she's in.
I disagree. I mean, I don't see a lot of hate directed at her stupid comments on society. I see most of it being how they've interpreted The Last of Us Season 2 and all the memes around the I'm gonna be a dad scene.
That's what I've seen.
Just the way the writing has been. I don't think it's as tied to that. Not in the way that Pedro Pascal is tied to his political comments and
Right.
the way he dresses and how stupid he is.
But we know if Bella Ramsey were conventionally attractive and bore even the slightest resemblance to her character in the video game, I don't think that a lot of this hate would be directed at her specifically.
In
it would be
season one,
directed at the people who wrote the show badly.
In season 1, I don't buy that. I think a lot of times people do put it off on the actors, even though they're not the ones writing the material, because they say, why would you sign up for something that's so bad? They do that all the time.
A job's a job.
And for I mean, I agree with that, but other people are asking that question. That's what they say to people when they race swap a character and somebody accepts the role. They take offense to the fact that they accepted the role, not understanding that everybody wants to make a living.
I mean, I'm not saying it's necessarily wrong or right, but people don't want to watch ugly people on TV.
That is true.
And I'm sorry, but she is conventionally unattractive. People don't want to spend an hour and a half of their time watching a TV show starring someone who is visually abhorrent. Okay. And I don't even mean that in like a personal jab way. It's just the truth. This is a visual medium. If you're starring in one of the biggest shows on streaming, you should be attractive. At least you should at least bear a resemblance to the character. If the character in the video game looked like Bella Ramsey, then fine. Like, we would look past it. But she doesn't.
So, like, it's not a personal jab. You're just like the most hideous.
That's all.
It's not a moral failing on her
this
part.
Goes back
it's just
to what we were talking about, though. You're talking.
She's being astroturfed by her industry. That's not her fault.
Yeah.
But it ties back to what you said. It's not like her stupid comments are one of dozens of one of millions that people in the industry make. It's tying back to how she relates to the show.
Her stupid comments aside, though, it's also the fact that she identifies as non-binary and is referred to with they, them pronouns, which the media happily goes along with. And that's annoying, and people are tired of it.
I mean, maybe this is why, like, maybe she's actually the bravest person in the world, because in season 1, like, they've got Pedro there to, like, take the fire because everybody hates him too. She's like, no, I'm here to strike out on my own. Right? I want to be the most hated person on the internet.
It's noble.
I'm sick of being in his shadow. I'm sick of being in the hate shadow of Pedro Pascal.
They could have at least soft launched it and made 2 seasons with Joel.
I know.
Make 2 seasons that adapt from the first game and then 2 seasons that adapt from the second game. But instead, they killed off Joel very promptly. I don't think they could pay for Pedro Pascal anymore. And Bella Ramsey has entered the crosshairs of the online manosphere.
The memes have been very mean to her.
It's true. But look, she doesn't do herself any favors.
No, she does not.
She's one of these female stars who sadly seems to try to go out of her way to look terrible on red carpets.
This was the original photo that they used for, granted it is from Garbage Human, so. And then immediately you go down, somebody's put, make her face a potato. And then this is my personal favorite. I'm sorry, but
that's another thing. When they added in that line in the second season where she says, I'm gonna be a dad, that is a form of retconning that incorporates Bella Ramsey's real life persona and gender queerness into the show, and it never needed to happen that way. We showed the side-by-side comparison of what Ellie's reaction was in the game versus what her reaction was in the show. Yeah. And it was polar opposite. And they added that line, I think, as a nod to Bella Ramsey's identity as non-binary. I do.
Oh my gosh.
Whoever did all of these photoshops is amazing.
Even we're talking about people, the actors phoning it in at the AMAs. Even the non-binaries are phoning it in. Like, she's clearly looks like a woman. If you're gonna do the non-binary thing, really get abstract. Like, this is just she's phoning it in. I don't appreciate it.
See, most of this backlash is about her physical appearance.
Yeah. Well,
it's not about the writing of the show.
I still think it ties back. No, you're right. Okay, so I was connecting it to the way she looks in the show. It's connected to the way she looks. I just don't think it's connected to the stuff she says, because the stuff she says is so generic. It's like
it doesn't help.
As rage bait, 2025 leftist political views go, it's not unique or even all that incendiary. It's just
not unique for a Gen Z actor, that's for sure. We have a 20 from Brian Bledsoe. Final Reckoning was less action-oriented than its predecessors. It was more of a suspenseful, retrospective look at the franchise, particularly the first 3 films, especially the first and third.
Look, that Phelps retcon was bullshit, okay? And did he have to talk to 10,000 people to get before he got to the sub, and then he got to the plane? It's just him going from aircraft carrier to American sub to this to that. Like, come on. It's like they built the movie around both of the massive action set pieces, which were fantastic. The dog fight with the planes was incredible. His underwater scene on the Sevastopol was amazing. But did he need to go to whatever her name was who ran that ship? Hannah Waddingham's character? It didn't serve a purpose in the movie at all. It was bullshit. It was like they were terrified to like get the runtime down. I liked the movie. But if I can see very, very clear places where stuff can be cut out, that means somebody isn't there doing their job because I'm an idiot and I can see stuff in there that clearly didn't need to be there and was, and the movie's pace took a big hit because of it. But you should go watch my review. I talked about it for about 20 minutes. So
You could say literally anything happened in this movie and I would believe you.
yeah.
You could say that he like fought a pit bull underwater in Antarctica, and I would believe.
I mean, he's
That'd be
literally
awesome.
underwater. So he is literally underwater at some point. He's coming up from the bottom of the. There's also. I don't want to get. We're still in a segment here. Let's
back to The Last of Us. I think that the truth is this: after The Last of Us concludes, Bella Ramsey's career is kind of doomed.
think so.
She's being astroturfed as like the next big young star, the next big Gen Z leading actress, I guess if you want to say the word actress about her. And I don't think it's true. I think this is going to take a big hit to her career after this. And the hate has gotten to the point where there was even a subreddit dedicated to discussing the second season of The Last of Us that got completely nuked. It just doesn't exist. It got banned off of the platform. And that's a pretty bad sign. I don't think that she can recover from this.
Yeah, I mean, she could go the opposite route. I think she would actually do perfectly fine if she went to try to do like the indie film route after this. Whether it works or not is anybody's business, but she'll have built the connections in the industry to still get work.
But if she were more likable and if she were more attractive, she'd be poised for bigger roles than that.
I mean, being likable doesn't really play a role in whether you get roles in Hollywood these days. It doesn't seem like you don't have to necessarily be likable to get roles.
Well, I guess if Rachel Zegler is anything to go off of, yeah.
You'll still get work.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's do some super chats.
Shane H. Wilder said, last time I went to England, I saw someone pass out from heat exhaustion. It was 60. I was wearing a jacket and those weaklings were dropping like flies.
There was when we were out on Saturday or Sunday, there was somebody out in like a jacket, and I was like, bro, I'm like in a tank top. Why are you wearing a jacket right now?
I was freezing this weekend. What are you talking about? But yeah, the British are soft.
Yeah, how do you think we won the war? Like we just waited them out.
How did
Wait
they
till summer.
complain that much about the heat wave and they still haven't implemented air conditioning in their country or ice? They don't have ice in their drinks, and they're going to complain about the heat wave.
Is it just because like the homes they have aren't?
They're just
do they
poor.
not benefit from?
It's literally they're just poor. Like that's the explanation.
You can get an air conditioning unit for like not a lot of money.
Yeah, but your electric bill runs
Again,
up.
I remember
yeah.
The average income there is,
I mean that's true. Like the electric bill here can be crazy in the summer.
like the average income in the UK is lower than Mississippi, and that's our poorest state. Like it's bad over there.
I want Cities by Diana to talk about this.
Yes.
About the fact that British people don't have air conditioning.
I do. Okay, I want to make an aside. I do think if you have loved the other Mission Impossible movies, not to go off on a tangent, if you love the other Mission Impossible movies, you should go see this one just to finish out the series, because this will theoretically be the last one. And those two action set pieces, the two big ones, are worth watching on the big screen. If you want to watch Tom Cruise hang off of an airplane and it looks crazy, it's absolutely worth seeing it on the biggest screen you can possibly see it on. Plus, you know, if the idea is supposed to be that you want to encourage you know, I don't technically prescribe to this viewpoint, which is like you should reward them for acting normal, which is like the bare minimum of a person. But Tom Cruise is kind of the gold standard when you talk about wanting to actually deliver movies for audiences. Just because this one doesn't necessarily hit the mark doesn't mean that he's not focused on making ideologically free entertainment, which I enjoyed in the film. There's some interesting talking points about the AI not having an ideology, which felt like it was trying to mirror Cruise's approach to movie making, but they tried to like flesh out the MacGuffin, the AI, and it doesn't really work.
Yeah, he had like one scene. I was like, oh, the AI is gonna be a really big piece of this movie. And then
did you watch it?
Yeah.
Oh,
I saw it last
rock
weekend.
on.
Yeah. And if you're really low IQ like me, you'll love it.
Yeah, bro.
Yeah, it was.
That's
so
what I'm
sick.
talking about.
It was like explosions.
It's
and,
so
like,
funny
cars.
because I'm getting Olivia to watch Person of Interest through with me little by little, and it's the complete opposite approach, which is a very, very in-depth approach to AI. And they do this really great scene where the character Root, is tracking Greer, and they're combining systems. One knocks out the cameras so that their AI can't look at the cameras, puts a high-pitched frequency in the speakers so that it can't pick up what he's saying. She has to use the dog Bear to track him, and he makes the point of telling her, he's like, very smart of you to use the animal to track me via scent, which is the only thing a computer can't replicate from a human. Like a computer can't manufacture scent. Mm-hmm. See, that type of approach to artificial intelligence is far more in depth than what they did in this movie, which is like, it's big and scary and it's gonna launch nukes.
Like they do all this dooming, and then like I asked ChatGPT the other day how much ibuprofen I should take for a headache, and it prescribed me enough that would have like killed me instantly.
Olvin McGoth said, the other night I saw a video of someone making a moving cybernetic spine for someone's outfit to the gala. The Met Gala? I didn't see that. I just saw like Jenna Ortega was wearing a bunch of metal rulers.
Yes, she did. When's she gonna wear like a protractor?
Yeah.
An abacus.
Get innovative.
Let's do one more.
Nick C asks, why are women?
That's a very salient question.
It's a deep question.
Know.
All right, let's hold on from here. So let's come back. It's time to talk about whether or not culture has stagnated.
Well, let's start with a little thought experiment, shall we? So if you at home somehow time traveled back 20 years to 2005 and walked around in public, based on what you're wearing, would anyone around you know that you were from the future? The answer is probably not. And that's, I think, because the culture has stagnated. We don't have shifting fashion trends or new hairstyle trends. Things have pretty much stayed the same for the last couple of decades, and time is kind of slowed to a stop, and the internet has a lot to do with that. This TikToker made a video illustrating this point. We have stereotypes from each decade of the 20th century and the radical changes that took place between them in fashion especially. Okay. And we have no such stereotypes these days compared to back then.
So do you want to? Should we watch the video first, the TikTok?
Yeah.
So, all right, let's watch this video, guys. Volume up. Here we go.
Why have people looked the same for the last 20 years? Like, if you go back and watch the first episode of The Office, that was filmed in 2004, you don't look at them and say, oh my gosh, look at those hairstyles and those clothes. But if you went back...
Actually, if I look at Jim's hairstyle, I absolutely think that. I think he's wrong about that.
Any previous decade, you would. Like, 1970s guy is a Halloween costume you can get on Amazon right now with the bell bottoms and the perm. If a character showed up in a movie set in the 1980s dressed like that, you would think they were in a Halloween costume, and that's just 10 years later. And if you're going to say, well, yeah, but that's movies, that's not realistic, I am telling you, when I was growing up in the 1980s, I remember looking in a photo album of my parents from 10 years before, from the 1970s, and all of us just laughing our heads off at the outfits and the hair. And you can go by decade. If you ask somebody my age to visualize the 1950s, we will close our eyes and picture something like this. Then if you ask us to picture the 1960s, you will get something radically different. If you were to switch the two, they would look like they were on the wrong planet. I am, of course, not the first person to notice this. There's a viral Twitter thread just yesterday where they were looking at video footage from 2002 and saying that could have been shot yesterday. and pointing out that the only signifier of which era you're in is what kind of phones they're using and how big the monitors are on their desks. Is there any explanation for this?
So like the guy that was on the live show, Tim's live show today, Lindy Man, he's the one that popularized the term stuck culture.
Oh, he was here today?
He was like called in for the live show.
Oh,
yeah.
Funny.
Paul
Scalise is
yeah,
his name?
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But like I actually kind of push back on the stuck culture idea because I think the big thing is it's just a perspective thing. So if you're older, like if you ask someone who was born in 1920, they would lump the 70s and 80s and 90s together. They wouldn't view time in that way. So I think like when coming from, I think I can tell instantly what era a photograph was taken in by the fashion and hair. Like I think there's a massive difference between the Y2K look and then the millennial we are young 2010s look. Like there's actually massive. It's just we saw it happen. So it's like you observe it and then you look back in time and see the obvious. But I think if you're a lot older, it all blends together. Like if you ask my dad, he's not gonna be able to tell the difference between a photo in 2004 and now.
For instance, like, okay, so when I was in high school, everybody wore Old Navy jeans with like carpenter jeans.
Yeah.
Now, if you saw somebody wear that, it's either a Gen Zer trying to be like
I'm wearing carpenter jeans
retro
right now.
ironic, or it's somebody who looks like he's been wearing that same pair of carpenter jeans for the last 20 years. It's not something you think of as being intrinsically connected to fashion of the time now, even if people are wearing it. When I think of men's fashion now, for instance, it's tapered pants, right? They don't like, if you're wearing baggy pants per se, it's a fashion trend of the next generation. But when they show The Office, that's office workwear. It's supposed to be indicative of what you wear to the office, and men's fashion at the office hasn't changed because rules of decorum for an office environment are the same as they were 20 years ago. Women make more statements with their office attire than men do. Men meet the lowest grade of what they need to be considered professional for their work life, and then that's where that ends.
Yes.
You wear the jacket. You wear the if you have to wear a suit, you have to wear a suit. Otherwise, you wear a button-up shirt and a tie.
Like they're taking like in the TikTok, he's like showing pictures of like celebrities from the 70s and 80s. It's like, yeah, because they were on the forefront of fashion, and that's the same way it is now. But if you do a street shot, there's a very strong dividing line. There was a dividing line right around Y2K where people went from formal wear in public to casual wear in public. That's the dividing line.
The thing I said to you before, I was like, look, the society died when we stopped putting buttons on pants.
Yes.
Because everybody got fat.
It's literally just the introduction of polyester is what destroyed fashion.
So when I was in my mid-20s, so we're talking like the late 2000s. And everybody started wearing skin-tight jeans, right? And ironic T-shirts. I don't see ironic T-shirts anymore.
Right.
Like, if you wore an ironic T-shirt now, you got it at the Goodwill. And the other one, if you want to watch old TV shows, American Apparel hoodies with the white lining on the zipper.
Yes.
You don't see those anymore.
Aeropostale going down the side. Like, it's very, like, that's why Y2K is a defined... like fashion style. So it's like Zoomers are able to emulate it to a T because it was defined enough where they can capture that and be like, okay, that's a Y2K outfit.
Somebody in the chat mentioned Carhartt. Carhartt is for limousine liberals now.
Right. So in 20 years, whatever generation that is, what is it, like beta or something, they're going to be able to emulate the We Are Young 2010s fashion. There's going to be a tinge of irony, but yeah, there's a clear... It's very obvious. Like I don't understand this debate, and Lindyman talks about it all the time, and I'm like, no, I think fashion is still progressing. Like there's still like the decades. Maybe I agree that like culture generally is breaking down, but fashion, like I see huge differences between 2005 and now.
I do agree that at least in the 2010s to now, men's hairstyles have basically stopped evolving. Other than the broccoli haircut, which became like an offshoot of just people getting fades.
I don't think so because I think like the skin fade was huge at the end of the 2010s going to the early 2020s. Like an easy indicator is you look at soccer players because they have celebrity barbers that are on the forefront of taste, and the haircuts have evolved massively. Like at the end of the 2010s into the early 2020s, men all had skin fades, they kept it high and tight, that sort of thing. And now it's, again, you're leaving scissor cut on the sides, that sort of thing. It's like, even with that, it seems to be progressing. There seems to be evolutions. Maybe it's not as dramatic as people want, but in 20 years when you're looking back, you will see the difference.
Yes. Okay. So I guess more what I'm saying is like when I look at when I look at him here, when you look at his character, it's the same haircut that Chuck had in the show Chuck, which is like it's unkempt and just looks like he lets it grow to that length. And then it's like hockey hair for somebody who plays hockey in high school, where it's like, you know, the swoop, Justin Bieber hair.
Yeah, but if you saw that around in public now, it's not like you would look at that and think, oh, that's so 2005.
I would.
I would.
Absolutely.
I saw someone of the Justin Bieber swoop.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't. It's not like standing out, but I'd be like, oh yeah, that gets a very old haircut.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned Lindy Man because he presented two explanations for stuck culture. One is we lived in a 20th century media monoculture where the culture changed every decade from the top down through a handful of radio stations, television stations, Hollywood, and fashion houses. Then the internet came along in 2005 and decentralized everything. Small groups online have innovated and changed, but the big media monoculture has stayed the same because the current model makes money, and why change it? Why risk it? Not everyone is going along with you like the previous century where people had no choice. And then the second one, which I find more compelling, is algorithms. This was the argument. I think culture got stuck when algorithms took over. The entire basis of recommendation algorithms is to predict what you'll like in the future based on what you liked before. This informs the worldview of all media players top to bottom and created a cultural infinite loop.
Yeah, that's 100% the case with monoculture. Like we were talking about earlier at the VMAs where, you know, it's getting harder and harder to be rebellious. It's because, like, when Shia LaBeouf wore a paper bag that says I'm not famous anymore, that was like a rebellion against the monoculture that existed at the time. But now that the monoculture's, like, you know, not relevant or it's not powerful, it's sputtering out, then how do you be rebellious against it? Because everything's so decentralized. It's like there's no power to challenge.
Well, also, like, fashion trends depended wildly on whatever subgenre or like subculture you were a part of. So skating fashion was vastly different than regular fashion when I was growing up, because skating fashion in my time was humongous sweatpants. Then it was like you slowly worked into like jeans that didn't make your legs look like they were this big.
Right.
And then eventually everyone went the complete opposite way, went to the skin tight jeans in the mid 2000s. Now it's all the same generic normcore baggy jeans with a size medium shirt,
Medium.
and a medium shirt and stuff like that. So that's just one subculture, and every other sport, every other genre of music has their own subculture where it used to be able to define a specific look for that group.
I will concede that the changes in fashion are more nuanced than they were previously. Like 70s big afro and big eyeglasses frames to the 80s where everything's neon. Like, okay, they're not as dramatic, but like if someone was wearing a Supreme shirt, the box Supreme shirt, you'd be like, dude, it's 2025. Like, what are we doing here?
But I think that's the problem here. The fashion trends cycle so much faster than they used to, and something that was in last year literally is out the next year.
The 2010s
or
are
even
clearly
month to
like
month.
2 decades in one, where like the first half and the second half might as well have been 2 decades. So, I mean,
because most of it you're observing on the internet instead of what you're observing in real life, and you get inundated with it to the point where you get sick of it way faster. And even if you can observe changes in fashion or hair trends more easily, I definitely think that music is stuck, and I definitely see that movies and entertainment is stuck. That's just, you see that everything is derivative now, and there's no sound difference between pop music today and pop music like 10 years ago.
I guess the difference is back then it would have been derivative as well, but now you have access to what it's derivative of, as opposed to back then a fashion choice which had been inspired by something less popular or less well known, where then people believe that this is why it's that this was the first to do this, when actually it was indicative of something else that came before it. Now you just can look all the way back to what it was indicative of, and there's no mystery there. Like what inspired it.
And like what you're saying, like the big what happened, what made that change happen, it's like what he talks about, where it's like the culture used to be top to bottom, and now it's bottom to up. So it's like with music, your tastes were effectively at the whim of your local radio DJ, where now it's just whatever you're into is on Spotify and you can listen to that. Where like I'll have it, like my cousin, he makes music and he has like millions of listeners on Spotify, and no one's ever heard of him because all of his listeners are in a very specific niche. Where like there's really famous rock bands from the 80s that have the same amount of listeners, and everyone knows who they are. So it's like, yeah, with the death of the radio DJ and with the death of MTV and the death of NBC, ABC, CBS, it's really hard to like find clear identifiable trends that are going to define a generation.
It's also why I disagreed with Tim when he said like there won't be any celebrities anymore. I'm like, no, they'll just be sectored off into their own.
There's not going to be more
industry.
Tom Cruises. That's
Yes,
true.
but
like because monoculture died.
But it depends on what you mean by celebrity, right? Is celebrity mean by the amount of people that know them, or is it the idea that if a band has 20 million listeners on Spotify, but is known by everyone, but this guy has 20 million, followers on Spotify and nobody knows him. Functionally, he's still being listened to by 20 million people.
But we mean like we're not going to get that Michael Jackson level.
No, that's not. I mean, that was never going to happen after the
in the 80s. If you had 20 million Americans listening to your music, you could sell out any stadium you wanted. Versus now 20 million, and you're seeing these crises where they book arenas and they can't sell.
Yeah, I don't know if Lindy Man would say this, but I do think it was legitimately a better situation to kind of have your tastes curated for you. I don't think that people are better off getting with the internet decentralizing all of these niche subcultures of subcultures. I think it was legitimately a better situation for you to just have your tastes like authoritatively passed down to
I
you.
100% agree. I think it's like from a national perspective, it's very healthy for everyone to be on the same page.
More social
pop culturally.
cohesion. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a healthy thing. That's a healthy thing to have not specifically, I'm just using this as like a stand-in for a famous person. It's healthy to have a Michael Jackson. It's healthy to have a Tom Cruise. Like you do need these unifying figures to define your pop culture. And like what you're seeing now where everything's decentralized, no one's on the same page. That's when people devolve into subcultures. That's when you lose an understanding of, your people you bump into on the street.
I guess because I grew up as part of a subculture, it doesn't matter as much to me. But also, that was always going to be the path forward since the internet became became a way to democratize your ability to get known.
But if you met another person in your subculture, you would all be on the same page.
Yes.
Versus now, if two skaters meet now, they're gonna have two completely different like Instagram feeds. And so it's you have more celebrities, but you have less A-listers now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's no one that they're gonna be on that's been born after 2000 that's gonna be on a movie and people are gonna go through the turnstiles to see that person. That's just not how it works anymore. If Tom Cruise is on a movie, you go see it. It doesn't matter if everyone's panning it.
$63 million this weekend.
Yeah.
It's rough.
Yeah, and with the exception of I think Only Sinners, every big like high performing movie in the box office is a sequel, spin-off, or prequel, or what have you. There's nothing new.
There's nothing new. There's nothing big anymore, but think how many more content creators there are, which is just because people don't want to call themselves celebrities, but there's like so many more people producing content now than there was in the 2000s, 90s, 80s. But like the high tier, the upper echelon, the big box office, there's barely any of those nationwide. Everyone's like, wow, this is an amazing thing. We're losing that. I think it's kind of a sad thing.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
All right. Let's do some super chats.
TN Fame said, is Mary aware someone made a wiki feat of her? I am sadly aware of that. I don't know what my rating is. And it's weird, right? Because you can't see me from the waist down on this show. So like, how would they even
I didn't even know she had legs.
find
me either.
that? I don't have legs.
That's
I
why she's
actually
so
don't
passionate
exist.
about the wheelchair ramp conversation.
Fat and Fresh said, to replace the money guns, what if you get digital money falling from the screen for super chats and crisis parties?
Bro, we film in a living room. A living room.
And that would also kind of be lame. Like the whole appeal of it in the first place is that it's like, actually in the studio.
The whole point of the money guns initially was, it's not because it freaked me and Mary out. Me and Mary were completely desensitized to it. It would have been that Tate, who had never seen it before, would suddenly be like, and then money would hit him in the face.
The first crisis party I ever witnessed, I legitimately thought we were being swatted.
So
that's the goal.
One of the worst things that's going on right now is Olivia and me like are working our way through Blue Bloods, and I'd always watched up through season 7 and then just stopped because post 2016, 2017, I just stopped watching a lot of TV. Now we're like, it's still fine, but there's an episode where a character gets swatted, and I just want to jump out of a roof, off a roof.
Why?
I hate the modernity of it all. Then the next episode's like fentanyl's a problem. I'm like, oh
Yeah, that's just
like the thing is
just
like,
life.
but the thing is, they were doing it in the earlier seasons too. They were doing stories that were relevant to that time, but I wasn't watching the news at that time, so it didn't matter to me. So that's felt more interesting. Now I'm watching stories about stuff that's actually relevant that I know about. I'm like, I don't want to hear about swattings.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to hear the Reagan family's opinion on swattings or fentanyl.
I don't want to hear about stuff that's like relevant to me.
Yeah,
like that's horrifying.
Leave that out of here.
Yeah.
Shane H. Wilder said, for context, the original 8 Harry Potter movies cost $1.3 billion and made $7.7 billion. I have no idea how the series will recoup its money on streaming.
Again, I don't know
won't.
if that. I doubt that number is accurate. I did back of the napkin estimates based on if they did like an 8-episode season, which makes sense, right? Like, who knows? It could be more, it could be less. But I'm guessing that the cost will be less overall than
But
4
even then,
billion.
let's say if it's like, you know,
Even if it's $1 billion,
what if they're spending $40 million per episode? That's still not going to make its money back.
I mean,
just-
how do you make your money back?
It's just to, merchandise and add more to your content library if you're HBO Max.
The other thing that I can't even imagine having to listen to them talk about is Hermione and the house elves, and like the house elves, like
What about
the
the house elves?
because it's about slavery and I just don't want to hear them talk about that. They don't really get into it that much in the movies.
The house elves weren't like an allegory for like
Chattel slavery.
The
Like
point
that's
is
not
like, well, no, it became an ethical question of if they want to work, is it slavery? Because they want to work. And it makes Hermione an annoying activist in the books. And I don't want to see an annoying activist talking about house elf liberation.
Well, that was the
Should
point
the
though.
elves
She's like a
vote?
goody two shoes who's like,
it's gonna
principled.
be so annoying.
That was part of her character.
Dobby,
Before that was ever, a stereotype.
actually, it'd be really funny if they gender swap Dobby instead. They make Dobby a woman.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Pop Culture Junkie said the Potter kids will get shafted on any residuals because it's so much easier to cook the books on a series versus a movie. Just ask David Duchovny. On residuals? Oh, well, there are no actors making residuals on streaming shows already.
Yeah, they're not gonna
That's been the case.
They are not gonna get a whole lot.
Nick Rogue said those stickers reminded me of Happy Bunny from the 2000s Hot Topic days.
At least
I loved Happy Bunny. Now I feel like I'm one of those chuggy people who's buying those
Which
stickers.
one's Happy Bunny?
Let me see. Like,
I don't even
t-shirts.
remember this.
You don't?
No.
This was like a big thing when I was in middle school, I think.
I remember the Life is Good shirts. You remember those? It was like the stick figures and they would like hold hands.
One of them is the Happy Bunny saying, "It worries me how dumb you are. Trampy, crazy, what's not to love?"
Oh my gosh.
"It's not your fault. I'm blaming you anyway." Okay,
I
I'm
actually never-
perfect. Stop
Maybe we do have stuck
staring.
culture after all.
I did see a woman while we were out running errands the other day wearing like a graphic tee that said, I'm not responsible for the face I make when you're talking."
Hey, you made me throw up a little. Like, I love that the Happy Bunny isn't trying to be quirky. It's just attacking you, like, as the person reading it.
I need to get the shirt to be like, I paused my game to be here. That's the greatest shirt ever made.
Brian Bledsoe said, Brett, were there trailers when you saw Mission Impossible? When I saw it this weekend, there was a quick thank you video from Tom Cruise, and that's it.
There were trailers. There was
Might have shown up late.
There was the thank you video from Tom Cruise. What was interesting is they played the original Superman trailer, not the new one. They played the teaser trailer with the over-the-top score, and they did not play the recent one with him doing the interview with Lois Lane at the beginning, which is the far superior trailer. So they're falling behind the 8 ball on that one. I am going to see Ballerina on Friday, though. or on Thursday, so I think I'll do a review for Ballerina on Friday. I got really scared. I bought the tickets, and then I looked at the runtime, and it said 2 hours and 51 minutes. I'm like, no fucking way.
That is insane.
No, and then I refreshed, and it was like some glitch on the website. It's like 2 hours and 5 minutes.
Okay.
I was like, look, Tom Cruise can get me to sit through 2 hours and 51 minutes, maybe. Knock off John Wick, no.
Gravel said, wishing you all a very friendly GM.
Friendly good
General
morning.
manager?
But it's not the morning.
General Motors? I mean, I'll take a car.
Boosted Yogi said, just wanted to point out we are getting Zootopia 2 before GTA 6.
As we should. That's a dynasty that deserves to continue.
I hate that Zootopia 2 is going to do well.
I'm going to be there
They're
going to
get like Puss in Boots 5, the last wish before you get GTA.
Were we already at 5?
I thought it was 4.
Were we? Oh, okay.
Maybe it was 5.
I hadn't seen any of them up until the last one, which was 2023, I think. It was really good.
I do think the Zootopia 2 is going to have another Despicable Me moment where people go and watch it, ironically.
Like,
I mean,
Morbin
Despicable Me
time.
Like
4
Zoomers, they used to wear suits. Remember when we wore suits?
Well, it's
Despicable
like,
Me?
it's too furry coded. That's the problem.
I think that's
like,
why it could take, because there's so much Officer Hobbs. There's so much lust over her on Twitter, so I think that's going to kick off again.
Well, and the Fox character, I don't remember his name, but there's a lot of like people who thirst after the Fox character, and they do the cosplay.
Well, I remember for
they
Despicable
yiff.
Me, like the meme was like, "Oh, we're gonna camp outside for the premiere."
Yeah.
But the problem was like my local theater in New York, there was like a lot of homeless people outside that were.
See?
So the joke was like, "Wow, people are excited for Despicable Me."
Shane H. Wilder said, "Don't be mean, Mary. Tarded alphabet people with Downs can act in video game adaptations too. They can, but should they?"
Oh, I thought he was talking about me. Thank goodness.
We're like 3/4 the way to a second Crisis Party. I'm just throwing that out there.
We can do it, guys.
No,
We have a 20 from Jose Quintana. My last official vacation day. Spencer's has lots of great t-shirts. I must ask Ghost Empress, should I binge all of the Harry Potter movies tonight? Will I go insane? Zootopia, Happy Taco Tuesday, Long Live PCC.
Bro, watching all of them in one night would be
Is that even possible? It just wouldn't be
no,
night anymore.
like half a day.
Yeah.
Also, Spencer's is a huge self-report. I mean, that is a scary
Yeah.
place. They're like, you want to go to the back? I'm like, what, do they
Yeah.
cut you up back there?
It feels gross when I walk in there,
I
but
refuse to.
I don't recommend the Harry Potter movies. I watched them. I didn't like them.
Listen to the audiobooks.
It was boring.
Both the Stephen Fry and the Jim Dale versions.
Adam said, "Are you guys going to watch Karate Kid Legends?"
I have debated that. I don't know.
I will.
I kind of want to. Like, there was some mediocre reviews that said it's not as good as Cobra Kai, but I don't know. Mary will want to go because she's the one defender there is of the Jaden Smith Karate Kid.
It was good. I don't care.
Maybe.
I think I just liked that one because I was like Jaden Smith's age when that came out. I thought that was fun.
I just want to go home. Like, that's me. I don't want to be here.
They were like...
He was kind of a bitch in the movie, huh?
Yeah, he was super whiny.
He was constantly complaining.
They were like, Ralph Macchio is now 12 years older than Mr. Miyagi was when he was in The Karate Kid. And, of course, Ralph Macchio looks 25.
He does.
Dang.
Yeah, he's got the adrenochrome on tap.
Just pumping through his veins.
Loco Luis said, "Want to see the real Bella Ramsey's dad? Search for Marquito no Ratino on Google Images."
I'm not doing anything somebody tells me to search live.
I don't know. That's suspicious. I don't think I'm going to do that. Omega Red fan said, "Justin Bieber and John Krasinski both stole Luke Skywalker's hair and we let it happen." I think Justin Bieber pulled it off better.
Yeah, Bieber killed. I feel
Ben
so
who?
bad. We were so mean to
John
him when I was a
Krasinski?
kid, and now he's like awesome.
Better than Mark Hamill. Yeah. It's a different haircut though.
It's a very different haircut.
It's different than the 70s cut. He had more like the emo hair. That's different. It had
I think I'm going
layers.
to try a new haircut the day before my wedding.
You should do the emo haircut.
Yeah.
I knew the culture was changing when the guy from Smosh cut his emo hair.
No.
That was so
Right, because
sad.
even non-emos had that haircut.
It was like, yeah, it was an
It
early
was just-
2010s thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shane H. Wilder said, I think if we went back 20 years, we wouldn't stand out. In fact, we would probably fit in more so as they weren't as fat on the large. No pun intended.
Your pant. Look, I am not kidding you right now. They cracked the fit for men's pants, which is tapered length pants, which perfectly fit men the way that pants are supposed
But
to
the
fit.
pants are too tight these days. I mean,
Yeah,
with
they're
the
getting bad.
what are they? The chinos that are like really
Yeah.
tight.
Well,
It's,
it's
a
not supposed to
polyester.
be
It's
that.
a polyester.
But the point is like, so there's a
And
reason why the joke is
they're
always
cut above the ankle too, and you
Yeah.
wear the sockless loafers.
Well, that was well, no,
Nope.
because then what would happen is millennials and my age would have the high cut chinos, but then they would roll them up so you could see their stupid ironic socks.
We are young.
Fuck those socks.
We are gay.
So true.
My burger costs $40.
Yes, my $27 burger is waiting.
And I'm gonna go then to the record store.
Yes, my sweet tea in a mason jar glass is waiting.
Celebrating the gender reveal party at Thistle and Thorn. And that burger better have a steak knife just right through the
It
middle
better.
of it. It's weirdly aggressive.
My fries better be coming in a mini fryer basket.
Yeah.
I'm sending back if
Which,
they don't.
of course, allows them to give you a smaller serving.
Oh wait, sweet potato fries are
Well,
optional?
the whole have you ever heard the story that like at Five Guys, it's actually priced out to give you all the fries in the bag, but they give it in a in a smaller cup, so it
Right.
feels like you got more. I love that. Whoever that dude is, I hope he uses his force for evil.
I used to, like, for a few months in college, I DoorDash, and I would always get the Five Guys orders because I would just sit in there and eat peanuts, like, for, like, 30 minutes. And one time, like, someone texted me, like, hey, I see you've been there for a while. Like, are you coming? And so I just, like,
Are you okay?
yeah, it was awesome.
Shane H. Wilder said, music has definitely stagnated. I was listening to a song that I felt was fairly new, only to discover it came out in 2005. The next big artist is dead.
Yep.
Well, yeah, the next big
trying
pop
to-
star is Lola Young.
It's actually Benson Boone.
Did you see he did like a flip at the AMAs over the stairs? He did.
Oh,
like,
he
leg-
thought it was so cool.
He did
Yeah.
legit. I mean, doing that with a microphone in his hand was actually pretty sweet. I hope that thing was like glued to his hand so it wouldn't fall out. Like imagine he does the flip and the mic goes flying and hits somebody.
My heart was broken. I saw Steph Curry at a Benson Boone concert, and he knew all the words.
No,
Not my goat.
no. I'll take racist LeBron over
Yeah,
that.
literally. At least LeBron has taste.
Award-winning blank said best alien movie.
I've only seen the first two, and I
Well,
would say,
does he mean like the best movie that has aliens in it?
Oh,
he means,
Space Jam.
I think he means the Alien franchise.
It's Space Jam otherwise.
And yeah, he's right. Or if we're going all movies with aliens, I'm saying Independence Day.
I'm saying Signs,
There you go.
All right.
even though it traumatized me as a child. But we're all caught up on
We got
that.
one more there from
Oh.
Pop Culture Junkie.
I stand corrected. The British system for distributing streaming residuals is very different than the US. It's negotiated directly by Equity, the British Actors Union, much less chance for hanky-panky.
That's
I don't
not
think
the
hanky
proper
panky
use of
means
hanky
what you
panky.
think it
I gotta
means.
start using hanky panky more.
Like,
I've been saying honky tonk a lot more.
Really?
I'm like, well, this McDonald's is like a honky tonk in here.
Do we have any Rumble rants, Brett?
no, but like hanky panky is not right.
That is not.
there. That is not the
I
right.
think that's
thought
a
it was.
synonym for bumping bellies.
Like that is not the right use of hanky panky at all.
Maybe I'll start just trying to normalize hanky panky. Let's work it back into the lexicon.
Let's not.
You know, if we all do it together, then we could start a movement.
Favorite Shrek movie from Adam?
I couldn't tell the Shrek Christmas special is pretty good. Also, when I think age gap, I think the dragon and donkey every single time.
She's older than Donkey?
No, but she's much bigger
Okay.
I just want
and imposing.
Those are all the Zoomer guys with the muscle mommy.
My friend's dating a
GF.
muscle mommy right now. It's pretty wild. It does remind me a lot of Shrek or Donkey, and
I thought that was just like kind of a social media thing.
oh, it's a
I
thing.
guess not.
5 Ash Art says that Independence Day sucks balls. If I was in a worse mood, I would just block you.
Yeah, we're
I
about to
would
get a
ban
Brett
you
crash
right
out.
now. Like just like no. Like, you can say whatever you want about me, but you leave Independence Day alone.
I think that the Shrek movies weren't good.
Do you think they've just become kind of mimetic?
I feel like millennials just thought that it was quirky to pretend that they love Shrek. Am I wrong?
Yeah, no.
I feel like it became
was.
one
I
of
mean,
their...
millennial culture was a lot about being quirky.
Because it was the same meme where like he would open the door like somebody once told me, and I was
Yeah.
like, I kept seeing those. Meme culture is something that is very cyclical. Like a meme from a year ago could get you like screenshotted.
Thank
you.
you.
Dance.
I think back on memes from the 2010s, and it kind of reminds you of like a more innocent time. Like, remember Dat Boy?
Oh yeah.
There's just a frog on a unicycle, and people actually thought that was funny for at least a few months.
Yeah, I
LOL
remember it
so
very well.
random was indicative of the time.
Yeah.
Something was funny because that was
Like
actually
deep frying a photo. That was funny.
There was just the guy that showed up at like the DNC and asked a question. He went on like Ellen.
Yeah.
That was the
Or,
thing.
like,
Is if you were
Alex
just
from Target.
yeah, literally that was like a meme would get you on Ellen.
Really
Yeah.
though, and no one cares.
Yeah,
One
now
of
Ellen's
the-
like beating her workers.
One of the things that Mission Impossible suffered from is they let the Paris character be the comedic relief.
Oh my
And it
gosh,
worked
yeah.
in like a couple of the instances, but it ran the risk of. So one of the things I love about Mission Impossible is no matter how shaky the film is, you're going to get some type of countdown.
Right.
And that shit rules, okay? The countdown scene, this movie was made up for by the fact that the countdown and the intercutting between the plane and the poison pill and Grace and taking the thing offline, that was all great, right? But there's the part where Benji's like, I need somebody with medical training, and she's like, I kill people. And it's like,
okay.
And I actually laughed. But the problem is that runs the risk of deflating the tension in the movie, and that's the type of ironic humor that was born out of millennial Avengers Marvel humor that still gets pushed into these movies. They actually did a decent amount with like Haley Atwell having really good comedic timing as far as like reacting to stuff.
Yeah.
Meaning like her job is to like watch Tom Cruise basically murder a dude, and then she's like
Yeah.
making facial expressions.
Well, that just happened.
and that worked.
He just did a thing.
He just did a thing.
Wow.
Well,
But-
Ethan just did a thing.
But like they actually had good chemistry. The only problem is like the Ilsa character could have also done that, and they killed her off in the last
Ethan
movie.
is like, he's right behind me, isn't he?
Yeah,
That just happened.
yeah. That
Or
type-
you know what the worst is like, and you see it with like comics, like stand-up comments. So they'll be like, yeah, so I just went to a burger restaurant yesterday, as you do.
Oh, they
Oh
do
my
that, don't they?
as one does. We did get a Rumble rant from Deep South EDC. Says what? No Rumble rants?
Wow,
Yeah.
he just broke the fourth
Well, we have
wall.
one now.
He just
Thank
broke the
you.
fourth wall with that.
Pop Culture Junkie said, financial hanky-panky is a common term among accountants in Hollywood.
See, but I can't
So
look
we
up
stand
hanky panky.
corrected.
Yeah.
I can't look up hanky panky though.
Award-winning Blank said, you can just call me AWT, and I meant any film. He meant any
Wow.
alien-related
So
movie.
Space Jam, yeah.
I am not going to say AWT because that's more syllables,
Okay.
I think.
I'm gonna stick with Independence Day. I love Independence Day. It's much like Mary with Karate Kid. It's part of my childhood. So I was not the same age as
ACNC.
Will Smith when he was murking aliens, though.
It is important to get your name as an abbreviation. Like the most successful politicians are the one that successfully parlay their name into an abbreviation like that, like AOC, MTG, JFK.
Yours is bad, isn't it?
My initials are bad.
What?
Yes.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's so sick.
If I ever like started my own YouTube channel, it'd just be called Bad Reviews,
I love that.
and then every review will be good,
Yeah.
and that's very millennial. It'll be
Yeah, it
ironic.
DC&C said hanky-panky equals
Yes.
finger emoji,
And then
okay sign
yeah.
emoji.
You-
Gordon Shumway.
do with that what you will.
Gordon Shumway said, best movie with aliens, killer clowns from outer space.
That's a good one. That is a good one.
That
is
okay, wait.
Absolute cinema.
Blast from the Past, there was like a whole moment in 2016 where people thought that there were actual killer clowns in the streets
Yeah.
chasing people at night.
Mm-hmm. I vividly remember the Miami bath salt story. My mom thought it was real bath salts, and she like called my grandmother like crying. She was like,
Don't
throw
use the
those away.
bath
Throw those away.
And Dingus Khan said Taco Bell drop today is a team jacket. I don't know what that means.
Taco Bell also succumbed to the soy-lennial culture. I don't know if you saw, they released Mike's
Wow.
Hot Honey branded food.
What? Wait, what is that?
Mike's Hot Honey.
I've never seen that.
Oh, it's like the new Soy-lennial thing. Like they put it on pizza. And they're like, oh, it's Mike's Hot Honey. It's just like it's like fat people food.
It's just spicy.
It's fat people.
Honey.
Like I have this an anon put this on Twitter, and I think it's true. Is like cheese is healthy for you, but putting melted cheese on stuff, something when it melts makes it bad for you. And I think there's something to that.
It's like when somebody was, I don't remember who it was, but I was like, yeah, I've been drinking more water. And then they were like, you don't drink it carbonated, do you? I'm like, what do you want from me?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's carbonated water is bad for you?
I don't know if that's true. It's like that meme. Have you ever seen the video? It's like you could click any influencer. It's like, here's why you should drink 8 glasses of water today. And then the next influencer, here's why 8 glasses of water a day will kill you. It's like cereal is a great way to start your day. Actually, you're murdering your insides if you start your day with cereal.
You will get more engagement for saying that, cereal is going to kill you. For saying something
it is
negative.
My favorite
Scary.
Luke Belmar clip where they're asking about water brands, and there's like, and they're like, yeah, he's like Fiji.
No,
He's like, yeah, Fiji's
Saratoga
good.
only.
He's like Saratoga, and they're like, how about Evian? He's like, it's okay. I'm like, what?
Like no
Like,
rationale,
where's your
no
heuristic
reasoning.
coming from? for
Fiji's
this?
clearly the worst because you can't fit it in your cup holder.
We need
That's
more,
Fiji's the worst.
Yeah.
Same with the Pedialyte. I can't fit it in my cup holder.
But remember, Phil says he'll only drink Fiji water on tour because the bottle is so
Right, because when he's
drinkable.
on stage, he just he doesn't know his own strength. He grabs the Fiji bottle, it doesn't crack under the pressure.
Yeah,
So-
there's something else with Fiji that I've heard from people. The reason they like it is because it doesn't roll under your seat. Yeah.
Also, somebody was like, one of the few things, you know how it's like everybody hates Nickelback and it became a meme, and then people who didn't hate Nickelback actually just started saying so because it was the cool thing to say. I kind of felt like that might have been true of Dasani water, except for Dasani water is actually really bad.
Yeah, it actually has like sodium in it.
Well, it tastes like paper.
It's bad.
Yeah.
My I remember how Nickelback, it's like cool again to like Nickelback. And I was in the car with my dad, and I was playing him Nickelback, and I was explaining to him how it has this like cultural moment now.
And it went, yeah.
Oh, yeah, and
Same with Creed.
Yeah, and I was explaining this to him, and he was like, "I never stopped listening to Nickelback."
He's like I said, it's a man who stands on principle.
Yeah.
Gordon Shumway said, I liked Shrek better when he played Mike Myers' dad in So I Married an Axe Murderer. Is this some kind of layered ironic joke about
Yes.
Mike
Or like
Myers?
Shrek did other jokes.
Adam said, will Mary do a review of Karate Kid?
You should.
If I
You
feel
should.
convicted to do
Yeah.
so. Shane H. Wilder said, Brett, you did get to say we have the meats in the ad while Mary got to wax poetic on matcha. Plus there was an explosion, because why not?
Everybody loves explosions.
Why not?
All right, guys, before we go, would you hit the like button on this video and subscribe to the channel if you are new here and you have not subscribed here already? YouTube and Rumble, you should follow us on both of those platforms, and you should hit like on all of the videos because it helps us in the algorithm. Tate, my friend, where can I
Oh
find you?
yeah, thank you. Yeah, you can find me on X/Twitter at RealTateBrown. You can follow me there.
All right, Mary.
You can send me validation on Instagram at Mary Archived, or you can send me hate on X. That is also Mary Archived.
All right. Guys, if you want to follow me, Instagram and Twix at Brett Dasovic on both of those platforms. We are here 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is, of course, noon Pacific, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Pandora, and Spotify. If you would like to listen rather than watch the show, you can rate and review on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify, which is another way to help us out. And if you want to follow us on social media, Twix at PopCulture_show, Facebook at Pop Culture Crisis, Instagram at Pop Culture Crisis Pod. Guys, we will be back with another episode tomorrow. We'll see y'all then.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.